The end of the world has arrived. Both my best friend and I obtained a system, and there are rewards for completing tasks. She always chooses the reward of beauty every time, while I choose the reward of combat power. Later, all the men she clung to with her beauty became my subordinates. 1. Ding. Congratulations on successfully killing the first zombie. The reward system is officially activated. My best friend Diana and I looked at each other in surprise. Her hand holding the fruit knife was still shaking. Cecilia, I think I'm hearing things. I casually wiped the blood off my face, just as I was about to say that I was also having auditory hallucinations. That strange electronic voice sounded again. Cecilia gets the first kill and is rewarded with 100 points. Diana gives the fatal blow to the zombie and is rewarded with 50 points. A glowing transparent screen appeared in front of us, on which many reward items were listed. Combat power, intelligence, beauty, as well as various weapons, daily necessities, food, etc. When Diana saw the option of beauty, her breath quickened. Beauty, exchange all the points for beauty. Wait a minute, I grabbed Diana and looked at her in disbelief. Diana, are you crazy? This is the end of the world. To survive, we need combat power. What's the use of having a pretty face? Diana shook off my hand. Her rough facial features were distorted with excitement, looking ferocious and terrifying. You can say that because you're good looking. Do you know how I've been through these years? With this face and name, I've been laughed at for a full 20 years. When Diana was born, her mother disliked her for being ugly and even refused to breastfeed her. Her father pinned all his hopes on her name and named her Diana, hoping that she would become more and more beautiful as she grew up, just like the four great beauties. Unfortunately, things didn't go as expected. Diana became uglier as she grew up, from kindergarten all the way to university. Because of this name, every time she introduced herself when the roll was called in a new class, she always made everyone burst into laughter. The male classmates treated her as a joke and took pleasure in bullying her when they had nothing else to do. Our families were neighbors living right across from each other when we were kids. I fought with my classmates many times to protect her. 2. System. Is it exchanged yet? Hurry up. There was a gleam in Diana's small eyes. Due to excitement, the pimples on her face looked even bigger and redder. I sighed and carefully examined Diana with a bit of sadness in my heart. She was short and stout, had dark skin, small eyes, a snub nose, and her eyebrows were so faint that they were almost invisible, coupled with a square face, a broad forehead, and sparse hair. There was really not a single pretty part on her body. Diana was right. I wasn't her. And I couldn't understand the pain and despair she had endured over the years. Exchanged 90 points for combat power and 10 points for 2 packs of compressed biscuits and 2 bottles of water. After exchanging for my own things, I handed a bottle of water and a pack of biscuits to Diana. It was the 7th day of the apocalypse, and Diana and I had been trapped in the dormitory for a full 7 days. After eating up all the food, we finally summoned up the courage to go out of the dormitory door, planning to look for food. As soon as we opened the dormitory door, a zombie lingering at the door pounced in. It took a great deal of effort to kill the zombie and close the door. Before we could catch our breath, the system appeared. Cecilia, look, I've become more beautiful, haven't I? I really seem to have become pretty. Diana was dancing with excitement in front of the fitting mirror. She kept turning sideways and spinning around, trying to see her back. I stepped forward and tugged at her clothes. You do look better. Look, your clothes are looser, you've lost weight, become wider, taller, and your hair has also become thicker, right? I feel like my pimples have also decreased a lot. This is great, really great. Woo-woo. Diana squatted on the ground, buried her face in her arms, and sobbed. I squatted down and gently patted her back. She might have fantasized about this day countless times. Well, after Diana becomes beautiful, she can exchange for combat power. Anyway, with this system, the two of us can live safely in the apocalypse. Are you tired from crying? Here, have a sip of water and take a rest. Then we'll go out and fight the zombies again. Fight the zombies, right, to get points. Points can make me beautiful. Diana pushed me away, stood up quickly, and flung the door open and ran outside. Bang. The wooden door slammed against the wall, making a loud noise. I was startled. Oh no, these zombies have extremely good hearing. We hardly dared to make any noise in the dormitory this week. Even the slightest sound could attract a large number of zombies to bang on the door. 3. Help, Cecilia, save me. Diana's shrill and pitiful cry came from the door. I picked up the fruit knife from the ground and rushed over quickly. Diana, stop shouting. Help. I was the one who took the initiative to attack the first zombie before, and Diana just hacked at it a couple of times after it fell to the ground. This was the first time she faced a zombie alone, and it seemed that she was really scared. Diana, stop shouting. With 90 points of combat power, my strength doubled directly. After killing several zombies in a few strokes, I pulled Diana and ran back to the dormitory and locked the door. Almost as soon as we closed the door, A group of zombies roared and rushed over, the wooden door banged loudly, and Diana and I held the door tightly, feeling extremely scared, especially Diana. Her face turned pale with fear. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" I anxiously pulled Diana's arm. "These zombies are extremely contagious. As long as someone is bitten or scratched, a healthy person will turn into a zombie in just a few minutes." "Diana, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." I ignored the ringing system. After putting down her arm, I quickly rolled up her trouser legs and examined them carefully. The end of the world arrived just a few days after the start of the semester, and everyone was caught off guard. I had already lost contact with my parents and relatives. Diana was my best friend, and we grew up together. In my heart, she was like my own sister. If something happened to my parents and relatives, then Diana would be my only family member. She must not have an accident. I don't want to live alone in this apocalyptic world. Yes, medicine. The system might have an antidote. System, hurry up. I have new points. I want to exchange for beauty. Diana, who had been dull just now, shuddered all over when she heard the word system and suddenly stood up from the ground. For no points. How could there be no points? Diana stared at the blank screen in front of her with an ugly expression. She suddenly turned around and stared at me fiercely. "Why doesn't my system have any points? How many points do you have? How many?" I was startled by her ferocious expression. "I have 1,000 points. The system said that I survived the group attack just now and was rewarded with an additional 500 points. Give them to me. Give me all 1,000 points. I want to exchange them for beauty." The cold mechanical voice of Diana's system sounded. "Points from different people cannot be given away. They can only be obtained by killing zombies. You didn't kill a single zombie just now, so you have no points." I stared at Diana in a daze. Although she wasn't good looking, she had always been kind, gentle, optimistic, and generous. This was the first time I saw such an expression on her face. Jealousy and greed kept flickering in her eyes, making her look extremely unfamiliar. I exchanged 800 points for combat power and exchanged the remaining points for 2 tang knives and some food. "Diana, it's okay, you hold the knife and follow behind me. Let's take a rest and then go out to kill the zombies." Diana nodded expressionlessly, with a flickering look in her eyes. "I'm not hungry. I'm going to the toilet. You can rest." I had consumed a lot of physical strength in just a few minutes just now. After hearing what she said, I sat on the bed without any precautions, opened the biscuits and water, and started eating. The toilet in our dormitory was right next to the door. After Diana walked to the door, she suddenly pulled the door open with force and let out a harsh scream towards the corridor. "There's someone here, come and catch me." After shouting at the top of her lungs, she ducked into the toilet and quickly locked the toilet door. Before I could react while sitting on the bed, several zombies had already roared and pounced into our dormitory. 5 zombies kept pouncing in from the door. Blood flowed all over the originally clean and tidy dormitory, and the stench was overwhelming. I kept hacking with the tang knife and didn't have time to close the door at all. Fortunately, I exchanged 800 points for combat power just now. My speed and strength are now far better than before. Without the system, I'm afraid I would have been eaten by the zombies until there was not even a bone left. I cut off the hands and feet of several zombies, and they still stubbornly crawled towards me on the ground with their tattered bodies. I guess all the zombies near the corridor had rushed in. The small dormitory was piled up with corpses, making it almost impossible to find a place to step, and it also greatly hindered my movement. Just when I felt that I was about to die here, Diana finally came out of the dormitory. She quickly locked the dormitory door and chopped down those zombies that had already lost their combat effectiveness with a knife in her hand. I was so tired that I slumped on the ground and watched Diana swing the knife. There was a bloodthirsty light flashing in her pupils. Was this still the timid, weak, and afraid of the dark endos Diana? After killing all the zombies, Diana threw away the tang knife in her hand and didn't even look at me. "System, come out quickly. I want to exchange for beauty. 200 points. Why do I only have 200 points after killing so many zombies?" "Cecilia, what about you? How many points do you have?" Diana rushed in front of me and shook my shoulders vigorously, with a mixture of jealousy and hatred in her eyes. Looking at her like this, I swallowed the words that were on the tip of my tongue. After a while, I said lightly, "I have 500 points. Maybe the more zombies you kill, the less valuable they become. In this battle just now, I gained a full 2,000 points, but I didn't want to tell Diana. Her crazy appearance made me feel very strange, and I was also a bit uncomfortable in my heart. After exchanging all 200 points for beauty, Diana's appearance changed a lot. Her height increased from 1.5 meters to 1.6 meters. She lost a lot of weight, and now she looked like a healthy and normal young girl. Although her skin was still on the darker side, almost all the pimples with abscesses on her face had disappeared, and even her originally mung bean-sized eyes had become much bigger. Now Diana was like an ordinary girl that could be seen everywhere on a university campus. Although she couldn't be called beautiful, she was definitely not ugly. 6. Cecilia, let's go out and kill the zombies. Diana came out of the toilet with a happy expression. It was only October, and the weather was still hot. The dormitory was piled up with the corpses of zombies, and some of them had already rotted halfway. I opened the window as wide as possible to air it out, but the smell still smelled terrible. Diana struggled to open the wardrobe past the zombies and found my clothes. She had lost so much weight that the originally loose pants on her were almost falling off. Cecilia, give me a hand. Diana's hand holding up the pants got stuck on her thigh and couldn't go up no matter what. She pulled the pants hard, distorting the thin jeans. I let out a helpless sigh. Diana, these pants are too small for you. You can't wear them. You can look for someone else's. Diana's face immediately sank. She threw my pants on the ground with a straight face, stood up, and rummaged through another roommate's clothes. There were 4 people in the dormitory, and now there were only the 2 of us left. Thinking of those 2 flower-like faces, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in my heart. I'm changed. Let's go. Diana came over and pulled my hand, but I didn't move and sat on the chair, although she had combat power higher than that of an ordinary person. Diana actually let the zombies in when I wasn't prepared just now. There are crises everywhere in the apocalypse, and I really can't trust her enough to go on the road with her and expose my back to her. Diana, why did you open the door just now? Seeing that my expression was wrong, Diana was a bit flustered. Ignoring the bloodstains and dirt on the ground, she actually knelt down in front of me with a thud. Cecilia, it's my fault. I was possessed by greed. But I really wanted to become beautiful so much. Since I was 3 years old, my birthday wish every year has been to become a little more beautiful. When we walked together, everyone laughed at me behind my back. They all said that we were a princess and a toad. I'm also a girl. I want to be a princess too. I've been waiting for this day all my life. Just now, I might have been crazy. Cecilia, my appearance has long become my obsession. I really want to become beautiful so much. Don't leave me. Okay, I'll die if you leave alone. I really will die. When we were kids, we secretly went to play by the lake, and I was the one who saved you. Diana cowed out and detailed the things that happened when we were kids, one by one, some of which she helped me with, and some of which I protected her. I looked down at Diana, who had become much more beautiful, and felt that her current appearance was far less cute than before. 7. Diana and I grew up together. Her parents disliked her for being ugly, but they doted on me. Every time I went to her home, her father would cook a table full of delicious dishes for me, and Diana's mother used all her enthusiasm for dressing up her daughter on me. She bought me even more clothes and shoes than she did for Diana. Thinking of Diana's appearance of never caring and always following behind me, in fact, she should have been very bitter in her heart, right? I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, her mother bought me a very expensive dress. Diana was so angry that she cut the dress. At that time, the children in the courtyard didn't want to play with her anymore. They said that she was ugly both in appearance and in heart, like an old witch. From then on, she put away all her temper and grievances and began to treat me better and better. Looking at Diana, who was kneeling on the ground crying with snot and tears, I felt a bit of pity. Stop crying. Get up. We can't stay in this dormitory anymore. Let's find another cleaner place. Even for the sake of Diana's parents' kindness to me over the years, I should give Diana another chance. However, I still had some precautions in my heart. There is a postgraduate apartment in the International College of the school. All the rooms in it are single rooms, and the accommodation conditions are much better than our dormitory. Moreover, it happened to be the weekend on the day of the incident, and there might be very few people in the dormitory. After thinking it over, I decided to go and take a look there first. Diana and I were careful enough on the way, but we still alarmed a lot of zombies. I protected Diana behind me and killed zombies with a fierce determination all the way. Even the knife was chipped in several places. Diana didn't let me down this time either. She stayed behind me and gave me a lot of help with the knife. We fought and walked like this. When I was so tired that I couldn't even lift my arms, we finally arrived at the postgraduate apartment. The main door was blocked from the inside, and all the windows on the first floor were nailed with wooden planks. When I saw this, I couldn't help but feel a surge of joy in my heart. Diana, there might be someone inside. After such a long time, I finally saw other living people again. I carefully circled around the apartment and finally found that one of the windows on the second floor was half open. I had killed quite a few zombies on the way here, and I gained an additional 3,000 points. After exchanging 2,000 points for combat power, I easily leaped onto the second floor with Diana on my back. 8. Stop right there. As soon as Diana and I jumped through the window, several boys rushed up and surrounded us. Don't come any closer. Where are you from? Those questioning voices stopped abruptly, and everyone stared blankly at what was behind me as if they had been struck by a magic spell. I turned around in confusion, and my pupils suddenly contracted. Was this Diana? There stood an extremely beautiful girl by the window. She had almond-shaped eyes and a peachy complexion. And her eyes were as clear as spring water, the sunlight shone on her fair skin, and not a single pore could be seen. Seeing us all staring at her stupidly, she looked a bit uneasy. "What's wrong? I haven't been bitten by a zombie, really." Her voice was delicate and somewhat ethereal, like the chirping of a lark in a secluded valley. "It's okay, even if you were bitten, it wouldn't matter. I believe you haven't been bitten." The fair and handsome face of the leading boy turned bright red, and he stammered his words incoherently. Several other boys also put down the sticks in their hands and spoke words of comfort to her one after another. Only then did I realize that the girl in front of me, who was so beautiful that it was hard to look away, was actually Diana. The leading boy was named Sean. He had just started his first year of postgraduate studies this year, after the zombie outbreak. He led his surviving classmates to turn the apartment into a small shelter. There were currently 25 boys and 3 girls inside. Upon hearing that there were only 3 girls, I felt a bit disappointed. With the arrival of the apocalypse, when facing such terrifying things as zombies, girls, on the one hand, are not as brave as boys, and on the other hand, their physical strength is also poorer. Moreover, girls are generally soft-hearted, even if they know it's a zombie. When facing their former classmates and friends, it's very difficult for them to strike the killing blow immediately, and in the apocalypse, a few seconds of hesitation can cost someone their life. Sean showed great enthusiasm for the arrival of Diana and me. He arranged a place for us to stay and even generously brought up 2 boxes of instant noodles. "Take a rest, we have to go out to collect supplies tomorrow. We'll have a meeting together tonight." 9. What's wrong? What's going on? I rushed into the dormitory bathroom, and Diana was holding her face, letting out a series of screams. "Is this me? This is actually me. I'm so beautiful." Seeing her jumping up and down with excitement, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Yes, you're very beautiful, a great beauty, the campus belle." Diana covered her face and started crying. After crying for a while, she excitedly ran up to me. "Cecilia, you still have points, right? Can you help me exchange for a few dresses and some cosmetics?" I checked. These things in the points mall are really cheap. You can exchange 100 points for a bunch of them. I looked at Diana steadily. She tilted her head back, and her big deer-like eyes were full of hope and longing. Any man would probably find it impossible to refuse being looked at by such a girl. Unfortunately, I'm not a man. "Diana, this is the apocalypse now. Points are very precious. They can be exchanged for weapons and food, which are the things that can keep us alive." Diana was a bit angry. She grabbed my sleeve and wouldn't let go. "Cecilia, why are you being so stingy? It's just 100 or so points. Can't you just lend them to me? You can get 100 points by killing just one zombie." I couldn't help but sigh. "Diana, this is the apocalypse. Do you understand? You exchange for high heels and dresses. They may look good, but can you run in them? If a zombie scratches the exposed skin, you'll easily get infected." Everyone wraps themselves up tightly. "And yet you still want to wear a dress. You're courting death." In the end, I still bought clothes and cosmetics worth 100 points for Diana. She solemnly promised that after this time, she would exchange all her points for combat power, and from then on, she would kill zombies herself to earn points and wouldn't hold me back anymore. Diana finally put on the beautiful dress. The white suspender dress made her look like a fairy. Diana, who had changed into the dress, was in a very good mood. She touched her flat belly and started to act coquettishly towards me. "Cecilia, I'm hungry." 10. I handed her the instant noodles on the table and took out the compressed biscuits I had exchanged for earlier from my pocket. Seeing this, Diana immediately turned cold. "I don't want to eat these. I want to eat something delicious. There are cakes and marinated duck tongues in the mall. I want to eat those." A small 4-inch cake costs 500 points, and a small portion of marinated duck tongues also costs 200 points. In the System Mall, the better the taste of the food, the more expensive it is. I put the compressed biscuits that I had placed on the table back into my bag. "If you want to eat them, exchange points for them yourself. Once you have your own points, you can exchange for as much as you like." Diana was a bit angry upon hearing this. "Then lend me another 1,000 points. I'll pay you back in a few days." I realized for the first time that Diana was really different from before, or maybe this was the real her, were all her previous generosity, kindness, and gentleness just an illusion. Unlike Diana, I had been the class monitor since I was a child. Wherever I went, there was always a large group of children following me, because Diana had a good relationship with me. She avoided a lot of cold looks and contempt. 2 beds were placed in the original single-room dormitory, making the space seem a bit crowded. I put my school bag on the bed by the window, took off my shoes, and lay down. "Come and borrow from me again after you pay back the 100 points you owe me before." I slept very soundly. When I woke up, it was already dark. The sunset glow outside the window dyed the sky a golden yellow, looking serene and beautiful. I groggily sat up, feeling as if I had been in a different world. "Are you awake?" Sean came to find us and said we're going to have a meeting later. I rubbed my eyes and then noticed that the table was a bit messy. The 2 boxes of instant noodles had been eaten up, and the boxes were left on the table. The compressed biscuits in my bag had also been taken out and eaten clean. I raised my eyes and glanced at Diana. She was sitting in front of the desk, carefully tracing her eyebrows. With her already stunning appearance and delicate makeup, just sitting there. Diana exuded an overwhelming charm that made it hard to look directly at her. Diana, you're already very beautiful now. Extremely beautiful. After killing zombies next time, shouldn't you exchange some points for combat power? After all, that's the really useful thing. Diana nodded perfunctorily and stood up first, walking out the door, 11, in order to welcome us in the evening. Sean and the others even stewed a pot of soup. Although it was all made from instant soup packets from the supermarket, I still ate happily. This was the first hot food I had eaten since the apocalypse began. Diana held the bowl of soup and sipped it in small bites. The boys in the apartment went up one by one to introduce themselves. For a moment, there were so many people crowded in front of her that she seemed to be surrounded like a star. Sean sat beside me, looking at Diana in a trance. I had to call him twice before he came to his senses. I want to participate in the supplies collection operation tomorrow too. Sean casually waved his hand. There's no need. Girls can just be responsible for cleaning in the room. The zombies downstairs are too dangerous. Leave this kind of thing to us boys. I live in Qingyuan apartment. I had to cross the entire campus to get here. How do you think I got here? Only then did Sean take a serious look at me. All right. You can go with us tomorrow, but you must follow my arrangements and not act on your own. There were 25 boys and 5 girls, making a total of 30 people in the apartment now. There were 10 boys who were going to participate in the supplies collection operation the next day. When they heard that I was going to participate, Diana also ran over and said she wanted to come along. Now these boys were in a panic and began to earnestly persuade her, Diana, it's too dangerous. Those zombies are so disgusting. This isn't something a great beauty like you should do. Yeah, you'd better stay in the room. Didn't you just say you wanted to eat chocolate? I'll definitely go to the supermarket to find chocolate for you tomorrow. Exactly, just don't go. We'll be worried. Diana blushed, her eyes shining, looking like a happy little woman. This should be the first time in her life that so many young boys had courted her at the same time in the past. When the 2 of us went out, she was always the little transparent following behind me. In just one day, the situation had reversed. Now she was the center of attention, looking at Diana, who seemed to be enjoying it. I felt a bit worried. This was the apocalypse with crises everywhere, and the police and the army were nowhere to be seen. Having excessive beauty in such a situation might not be a good thing. But Diana's obsession with her appearance was too deep. And I guessed she wouldn't listen to my advice. 12. After discussing the plan for the next morning, everyone dispersed. Diana didn't follow me back to the room. Instead, she sat in the middle of the group and chatted with a bunch of boys. I went back to the room alone and opened the system, only to find that there were many martial arts techniques on it, although I had increased my combat power. I had been relying on brute force when fighting zombies and had no skills at all. After exchanging dozens of points for a set of sword techniques, I realized that this thing was really just a book, and I needed to study and practice hard according to the content in the book, which was completely different from what I had imagined, that I would learn it right after exchanging for it. I took a wooden stick and started practicing the moves according to the book. Before I knew it, I became engrossed. When I was so exhausted that I plopped down on the ground, I realized that I didn't know how much time had passed. The candle in the room flickered a few times and finally went out. I took a shower in the dark. When I came out, I realized that Diana hadn't returned to the room. Thinking of her delicate and beautiful face, I couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling in my heart. I quietly left the room, feeling the dagger exchanged from the system. I stood in the silent corridor and listened carefully, since my combat power had been greatly improved. My hearing had also increased several times. No, I hate it. The coquettish female voice and the panting male voice came from the end of the corridor. I held the dagger and ran all the way, then pushed the door open directly. The scene in front of me made me furious. I saw Diana, with her clothes in disarray, being pressed down by Sean. Her white dress had also been pushed up to her waist. I rushed forward, grabbed Sean's clothes, and threw him to the ground. Then I took off my coat and covered Diana. Diana, are you okay? Cecilia, what are you doing? Sean, are you okay? Diana panicked and got out of bed to help Sean up. Sean grimaced in pain. Damn it, Cecilia, you're so strong. You almost killed me. I looked at them blankly, still holding the dagger in my hand. Diana glared at me angrily. Hurry up and put it down. Sean is my boyfriend. 13, I don't understand. I really don't understand, they just met at noon, and he's her boyfriend already in the evening. Diana kicked me out of the room with a straight face. Sean wasn't angry, though. Cecilia was just worried about you. It's all a misunderstanding, a small matter. Bang. The thin wooden door separated me from Diana. I stood in front of the door, feeling a mix of emotions in my heart. Diana was clearly still alive, but I felt as if I had lost her forever. Well, people with different beliefs can't work together. From now on, Diana and I will just be strangers. Early the next morning, Sean came out of the room with a satisfied look, hugging Diana in his arms, which surprised everyone. Several boys looked at him enviously, their faces full of jealousy. Sean, you still have great charm. Should we call her sister-in-law from now on? Diana shyly leaned into Sean's arms and smiled sweetly and brightly. Ah, you guys are so annoying. I didn't know what to say and could only look at them in silence. Sean was tall, with delicate features, and he was a postgraduate student. If it weren't for the apocalypse, I should have been really happy for Diana to find such a boyfriend. According to yesterday's plan, Diana wasn't supposed to go out to look for supplies, but today, Sean, in order to please the beauty, would probably even be willing to sleep among the zombies. He insisted on taking Diana with us. And we all went out fully armed. So what if you didn't want to take me? There are plenty of people who will take me. I don't know why, but in just a few days, Diana had filled me with hostility. Diana, you'd better take care of yourself. My last piece of advice to you is to stop spending points on your appearance. Excessive beauty is a kind of original sin, and you'll regret it too late when the time comes. You're jealous, aren't you? Now I'm more beautiful than you. And all the boys are surrounding me. No one pays attention to you anymore. You must be feeling bad, right? 14. I looked at Diana in disbelief. Did she really understand the situation? This was the apocalypse. The apocalypse. SHH. Be quiet. Don't talk. Sean turned his head and put his finger to his lips. We had already entered the central area of the school. If we walked a little further, there would be the school's commercial street, where there were many convenience stores and small supermarkets. Bang, someone accidentally kicked an iron bucket by the roadside during our walk. I was startled. Sure enough, a few zombies not far away turned towards us when they heard the noise. I saw that the zombies, which had been walking slowly and unsteadily before, took a few steps and then suddenly ran towards us at a speed that was almost as fast as a 100-meter dash. I stared at these zombies in shock. When I brought Diana here yesterday, those zombies had clearly been slow in movement and stiff all over. If they could run this fast and be this agile yesterday, I definitely wouldn't have been able to bring Diana across the entire school so easily. Not good. The zombies have evolved. Run, run back. I shouted at Sean and the others, then turned and ran in the direction of the apartment. Sean and the others panicked immediately, and the crowd scattered and fled in the chaos. I didn't know who tripped Diana, and she fell to the ground in a sorry state. Sean, save me. Sean turned his head, gritted his teeth, and finally turned back to pull Diana up, but because of this moment of hesitation, they were surrounded by several zombies and were on the verge of being bitten. I took out my knife and started a one-sided massacre. The sword techniques I learned yesterday weren't in vain, coupled with the points I had exchanged during this period. Even if these zombies had evolved, they were still no match for me. Just like this, I fought and retreated with Sean and Diana. Several times, Sean was almost caught by the zombies. He held Diana tightly in his arms and never let go once. I couldn't help but look at him with new respect and also felt a bit ashamed of my own arbitrariness. Perhaps the depth of feelings really has nothing to do with time. Although Diana and Sean's relationship had developed rapidly, Sean was indeed sincere. After cutting off the heads of 2 zombies with one slash, we finally made it back to the dormitory. We had gone out with 12 people, but only 6 came back. The boys who ran slower were knocked down by the zombies, and soon they staggered to their feet and became one of the zombies. 15. With 6 people dead all of a sudden, everyone was very depressed. The feeling of despair permeated everyone's hearts. Sean sat in the corner with his head down, vigorously sharpening a kitchen knife in his hand. The evolution of the zombies took everyone by surprise. I couldn't help but look up at Diana while sitting on the ground. Before, as long as she summoned up the courage and with a weapon in her hand, she could relatively easily kill a zombie. But what if this mutation and evolution were just the beginning? If the zombies became stronger and stronger, Diana probably wouldn't be able to kill any zombies on her own at all. And naturally, she wouldn't be able to earn any points. One wrong step leads to a series of wrong steps. The gap that she thought she could catch up with quickly would eventually grow bigger and bigger like a snowball. Thinking of this, I felt a chill in my heart. I had just killed a lot of evolved zombies, and my points had also increased to 6,000. Without hesitation, I exchanged all my points for combat power, since we didn't collect any supplies in the evening. Everyone's dinner was just a small pack of biscuits each. Seeing everyone's dejected appearance, I walked up to Sean and patted him on the shoulder. I'll help you collect supplies tomorrow. Sean finally came back to his senses from his dejected state. He knelt down in front of me with a thud and without hesitation, kowtowed heavily twice. Cecilia, thank you for saving my life and Diana's. From today on, you're my boss. Diana, quickly thank the boss for saving your life. Diana's expression was somewhat indescribable. I raised my eyebrows and finally didn't let her actually kowtow. Sean, who had been dejected for a while, regained his vitality. He drove Diana out of the room, left 2 people on night watch, and ordered everyone else to stay in their own rooms. According to what's written in the novels, zombies can evolve, and so can humans. Everyone have a good sleep tonight. Maybe when we wake up in the morning, we'll all have evolved. Diana and I went back to the room. The 2 of us, who used to talk about everything, now couldn't find anything to say when sitting together. You must be laughing at me in your heart, thinking it's ridiculous that I exchanged all my points for beauty, right? Diana sat on the bed, hugging her knees with both hands and looking at me with a melancholy gaze. I just wanted to be beautiful so much. Is that wrong, for you? It's just a few points, but for me, it's been my lifelong dream and hope. 16. I respect your choice. At the same time, you also have to bear the consequences of your choice. I turned over and faced away from Diana. The room was quiet for a moment, and then soft sobbing sounds came. Diana came to my bedside, grabbed my sleeve, and cried pitifully, Cecilia, I'm begging you, please help me one more time, okay? You've also seen how terrifying the zombies are now. I simply can't earn any points on my own. Please help me, take me to kill a few more zombies so that I can save up a few hundred points. This time, I promise to exchange all the points for combat power. Please, you don't want to see me die, do you? If I die, then when you meet my parents, how are you going to explain it to them? Please, this is the last time, okay? Just help me this one time. Thinking of Diana's mother, who bought me dresses, tied my braids, and cooked delicious meals for me. And Diana's father, who helped me with my homework and taught me how to ride a bicycle. My heart softened. My parents were very busy at work and often worked overtime until the middle of the night before coming home. I spent almost my entire primary school days at Diana's home. Diana's father would pick up Diana and me early and then buy us all kinds of snacks and toys. Diana's mother would supervise us while we ate. And it was she who helped me get rid of my picky eating habits. Compared to my parents, Diana's parents were more like my own parents. They also loved me wholeheartedly and treated me even better than they treated Diana. I sighed and sat up. This is the last time. Diana nodded ecstatically and pounced on me, hugging my waist. Cecilia, I knew you wouldn't leave me behind. The next day, when it was still dawn and everyone was still asleep, Diana and I quietly went out. The system was a secret between the 2 of us. If others knew that Diana and I were going out to kill zombies, they would definitely try to stop us, which would cause unnecessary trouble. Next to the postgraduate apartment was a self-study classroom. I took Diana and directly climbed up to the 2nd floor. There weren't many zombies in this building, and there was a large classroom every dozen or so meters, which was convenient for hiding. It was a very good place to kill zombies. I took the lead, holding a knife. After cutting off the limbs of the zombies, Diana would then use the knife to cut off their heads. The 2 of us cooperated very well. In just 2 hours, we cleared out all the zombies in the entire self-study room. 17. When my arms were so sore that I couldn't lift them anymore, we finally finished this hunt. I carried Diana on my back and quickly returned to the postgraduate apartment building. Diana kept her head down the whole time. As soon as she got back to the room, she took out a few pieces of clothes from the cabinet. I smell so bad. I'm going to take a shower. Her voice was delicate and charming, like it had hooks, making people's hearts itch. I felt something was wrong. I grabbed Diana, who had her head down, and forcefully pinched her chin to make her look up. What a face it was. Her eyes were as clear as spring water, and her skin was as smooth as coagulated fat, although her facial features hadn't changed particularly much. Her whole temperament had changed. If the previous Diana was the most beautiful girl on campus, now she was a stunningly beautiful and glamorous female celebrity. With this appearance, she could even rank among the top in the entertainment industry. You exchanged all your points for beauty again, didn't you? How many points did you exchange? Tell me, when killing zombies today. I could clearly feel that the speed of 2 of the zombies was much faster than yesterday. And one of them had amazing strength. Their evolution speed was much faster than I had expected. Diana looked at me pitifully. You're hurting me. I let go of my hand, feeling utterly exhausted, and said, Diana, this is really the last time I'll help you. From now on, let's just pretend we don't know each other. Seeing my dejected look, Diana panicked. Tears rolled down like pearls, and she cried. I don't know what happened either. There was always a voice in my heart saying that this was the last time to exchange points for beauty. While I was killing zombies, the voice of the system kept ringing. I just thought that if I could be a little more beautiful, just a little bit would be enough. I was going to exchange for combat power when dealing with the next zombie, and before I knew it, all the zombies were killed. I didn't mean to, Cecilia. You have to believe me, I really didn't mean to. 18. I looked at the dazzlingly beautiful Diana, feeling extremely tired in my heart, and didn't even want to say a single word more to her. Her obsession with beauty was too deep, and she had already been possessed by it. I guessed that the next time she had points, she would still choose to exchange them for beauty. Diana, are you up? Sean knocked on the door vigorously, his voice sounding a bit excited. I opened the door, and Sean fell right in. Good morning, boss. Damn, you stink. I didn't mean that. I mean I stink. I sniffed my clothes. Indeed, the smell was quite overpowering. You guys talk. I'm going to take a shower. Sean grabbed me and said, Boss, I've evolved. My strength has increased a lot today. If you don't believe me, let's have an arm wrestling match. After the arm wrestling match, Sean sat on the chair looking dejected, mumbling to himself nonstop. That's not right. Could it be that my strength has actually decreased? I clearly feel that my strength has increased a lot. Why is this happening? His silly look made me feel a bit better. I had been rewarded with 10,000 points for killing zombies just now. I kept 1,000 and exchanged the rest for combat power. When Diana came out after taking a shower and changing her clothes, Sean's breath caught in his throat, and he stared at her with his eyes wide open. I walked out of the room, leaving the space for this young couple. As soon as I got to the hall, a lot of people surrounded me. Boss, I've got some good news for you. We found a survivor base. Someone had contacted a base via radio and said that most of the survivors in the city were there. It used to be the largest villa area in our city, built in a beautiful mountainous area. There were protective fences around the community. And because there was enough greenery in the community, there was also land for growing crops. It was said that there were already more than 10,000 people living there now. And there were doctors, police, organizations, and laws. 19. Everyone was very tempted and unanimously decided to get ready and set off for the base. The base wasn't far from where we were, just over 20 kilometers away. It would take most of a day to get there on foot. After a while, Sean came out of the room with a beaming face, accompanied by Diana. He somehow got a map of the city and led everyone to study the route. There were originally 30 people, but now there were only 25 left, including 5 girls and 20 boys. Those girls were both lucky and unlucky. They had been saved by Sean from the beginning, but too much protection had made them lose the ability to grow. We would have to pass through countless tall buildings on the way. And we didn't know how many zombies were hiding among them. Someone suggested going by car, but it was quickly rejected by others. The zombies' hearing was astonishing now, and the noise from a car could attract all the zombies within a few kilometers nearby. We packed up the things in the apartment and took all the food we could carry. I also sharpened a lot of steel pipes into weapons with my knife, which made Sean and the others envy me. This knife was exchanged from the system, and it cost me a full 1,000 points. It could truly cut through iron like mud and was indestructible. We had originally planned to set off early the next morning, but an accident happened at night. Sean got into a fight with a boy named Jason. Both of them went all out, punching and kicking each other without mercy. Jason also lived in the postgraduate apartment. He was very handsome, with a wheat-colored complexion, thick eyebrows, and bright eyes. Unlike Sean's fair and delicate appearance, he was full of wildness and the beauty of strength. The reason they fought was that Sean got up to go to the toilet in the middle of the night and found that Diana was missing. Finally, he found Diana in Jason's room, and the two of them were passionately kissing. Diana stood there at a loss, shouting the classic line, "Stop it, you guys stop fighting right now. I'll be angry if you keep fighting. Sean, stop. I like both of you. Why can't the three of us live together?" I looked at Diana with admiration. Not bad. She already had a harem in the apocalypse so quickly. 20. In the end, it was me who stepped in to stop them. Jason looked at me dejectedly. Boss, I didn't want to fight either, but it's the apocalypse. Since neither of us is married, what's wrong with fair competition? Sean licked the corner of his mouth that had been broken and spat out a mouthful of blood on the ground. Fine. Come on, keep fighting. Whoever wins gets Diana. Diana stood aside and raised her eyebrows at me, seemingly very proud that two such handsome boys were fighting to the death for her. I looked at her somewhat amusedly. They were treating her like a commodity, saying that whoever won could have her. All right, stop arguing. We're going to the base tomorrow. Do you two want to die on the way if you get injured? Almost as soon as I finished speaking, the two of them stopped. Sean even scratched his head in embarrassment at me. Sorry, boss, I caused you trouble. This made Diana very angry. She gave Sean a discontented glare and stepped forward to grab Jason's hand. Sean was somewhat disheartened. He looked at Diana seriously, then turned around and walked back to the room without looking back. I didn't bother to care about these messy things either. There would be another big battle tomorrow. And I needed to have a good rest at night and think about how to use the remaining 2,000 points. When I got back to the dormitory, after thinking it over, I spent 1,000 points to increase my intelligence. As soon as my intelligence was increased, I felt that the whole world was different. The simple apartment building became extremely clear in my mind. In almost a few seconds, I planned out 5 of the best escape routes. Even the moves in martial arts that I didn't quite understand before suddenly became clear to me in an instant. These points weren't wasted. It was a great deal. I couldn't help but regret not increasing my intelligence value earlier. The next morning, I jumped out of bed full of energy. This increased intelligence was really useful. It even improved my sleep quality a lot. I slept soundly all night without any dreams until dawn. I polished my knife until it shone and sat in the lobby waiting for the others to wake up. 21. When everyone was finally gathered, Sean and I exchanged a glance and took the lead in pushing open the door. These zombies preferred to be active at night. When the sun was very strong during the day, they usually hid in the houses and didn't go out on the streets much. It was probably because the sunlight would accelerate their decay. So zombies didn't like the sun very much. Our group walked on the road carefully, trying to make our footsteps as light as possible, but there were a lot of us, and the road was difficult to walk on. There had been car accidents in many places, and the crisscross cars blocked the road tightly. When we were climbing over a pile of cars that had crashed together, one of the cars suddenly let out a harsh alarm sound, "Run," while telling Sean and the others to run. I dashed in the opposite direction. I quickly ran to a car on another road and started smashing it frantically. Soon, a bunch of cars set off their alarms, and many of the zombies that had originally been running towards Sean and the others turned around and ran towards me. It took me a great deal of effort to get out of the continuous stream of zombies. When I found Sean and the others, I discovered that they had suffered heavy casualties. Out of the 5 girls, only Diana and 1 other girl were left. And among the original 20 boys, more than half of them had directly died, leaving only 8 people. "Boss, it's great that you're okay." Sean and the others were very happy to see me. The only surviving girl even couldn't help crying. I led them to find a secluded place on the road to take a short rest. After organizing our things, we continued on our way. We walked on, stopping from time to time. Soon, we accidentally bumped into a group of zombies head-on. I desperately protected Sean and the others, but still, some people got injured. When we finally reached the vicinity of the base, there were only 5 of us left. Everyone was in a very heavy mood, and even Diana stopped complaining and obediently followed us, taking 1 step at a time. Just as we were about to reach the base, a large group of zombies appeared on the road again. Everyone was a bit despairing. Sean's hand holding the steel pipe was also trembling slightly. He looked at me with a determined gaze and gave a bitter smile. "Boss, later you take Diana and go first. I'll stay behind to hold them off." Diana stared at him blankly, and soon her eyes turned red. "You fool, such a fool." 22. The solemn and stirring farewell didn't come. Several tall and strong men holding machine guns descended from the sky and joined the fight. After the leading man cleared away the zombies, his eyes lingered on Diana and he couldn't seem to look away. These men were from the base's escort team, specifically responsible for going out to search for supplies. They had just left the base not long ago when they encountered us. With the guidance of the escort team, the few of us finally reached the base safely. Not long after we were settled in the base, someone knocked on the door. The first leader of the base wanted to see us. I couldn't help but look at Diana. It couldn't be that the leader wanted to see every new arrival, right? Most likely, it was because of her. The first leader was an extremely young man with sharp eyebrows and eyes and an astonishing aura. "My name is Xavier. In my base, I don't support useless people." Xavier used to be a foreign mercenary. After returning to the country, he opened the largest security company in the city. The base he established was as cold-blooded and cruel as he was. The role of each person was clearly priced. Women and food were all resources, and one needed to rely on their strength to obtain them. Xavier put a price on everything, which could be exchanged with contribution points. Even his position could be obtained with enough contribution values. As a result, the old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled were in a difficult situation. Many women who didn't dare to go out and fight zombies and didn't have the strength to do hard work could only exchange their bodies for contribution points. He looked at Diana and me and gave us a meaningful smile. "You two are quite good looking, especially you. I can allow you not to work for 1 night. You can set the price at 200 contribution points, and as for you, it's 1,000. Diana was so frightened that her beautiful face turned pale, and I couldn't help but laugh. Xavier sat on a chair with a marble table in front of him. I walked up and cut off a corner of the table with my hand knife, then threw that triangular piece of marble on his table. "Cherish it well. How many contribution points is the position of the first leader?" 1 million, right? Don't worry, soon, this position will be mine. Xavier's eyebrows and eyes relaxed, and he looked at me with great interest. For the first time, he sat up straight. This is interesting. This is the end of the world, and the strong are king. Don't talk to me about that nonsense of protecting women and children. Morality is a kind of kidnapping that the weak impose on the strong. If you enter the base, you have to abide by the base's rules. If you don't want to accompany men, then go out and kill zombies, and exchange contribution points for your freedom. 23. After returning to the room, Diana looked worried. Sean and Jason took turns to comfort her. Don't be afraid, I've gone to find out about the contribution points. Killing one zombie only gets you 10 contribution points. To get 1,000 points, you need to kill 100 zombies. Surely no one would be willing to use so many contribution points to exchange for it. This comfort obviously didn't work, in the end. Sean and Jason promised Diana that they would work hard to earn contribution points to help her keep her innocence, and only then did Diana stop crying. I looked at her speechlessly. Haven't you ever thought of killing zombies by yourself? The rules of the base were cold-blooded. This was a place where the law of the jungle truly prevailed. Whoever had the greatest strength had the final say. At the same time, I also found that many people had evolved just like the zombies on the way. I even saw a girl lift a huge rock with her bare hands. Xavier's rules were simple. The base didn't support idlers. As long as you could prove your value, you could survive in the base. If you didn't have the courage to kill zombies and search for supplies, you could only do some miscellaneous work in the base, medical work, construction, building houses, making weapons, etc. As long as you had a particular skill, you could exchange for a place to live and food in the base. He didn't give any preferential treatment to children or women. 90% of the people in the base were young men. To maintain stability, Xavier also allowed some previous illegal industries to exist, and all the women who came to the base were tacitly regarded by him as being involved in illegal industries. Only by proving that they had other values could they get rid of this identity. I scoffed at these rules. But obviously, I couldn't confront an entire base alone now. There were a total of 10 deputy commanders in the base, and each commander was in charge of a lot of things. Below the deputy commanders were supervisors and team leaders, and each position could be exchanged with contribution points. Diana and I were in the same major in university, both studying e-commerce. Diana had a good family background since she was a child, although her parents weren't very good to her. She never had to worry about food and clothing, and they were very generous with giving her money. Therefore, there were technical jobs in the base, but neither of us was very good at them, and with Diana's astonishingly beautiful appearance, she was really powerless and couldn't do any hard work at all. 24. Sean tried his best, but the contribution points he obtained were only enough for him and Diana to eat, and they were eating the worst food. Every meal was either compressed biscuits, white rice, or steamed buns. Diana couldn't stand it. After a couple of days, when Sean took out a steamed bun again, Diana threw the steamed bun on the ground. I don't want to eat this. There are stir-fried dishes in the base. Can't you go and buy a serving of stir-fried dishes? Sean's face turned red. Although he was young, there were many evolved people in the base, and his combat power couldn't even rank in the base, so naturally, he couldn't get many contribution points. I frowned. According to this calculation, those ordinary women who hadn't evolved probably couldn't even exchange for 3 meals of steamed buns a day. Right before I could save up enough contribution points to become a deputy commander, Diana and Sean broke up. She took the initiative to attach herself to the second leader, Leo, an evolved person with terrifying strength. That leader was very generous to her. Once she even bought several servings of dishes and brought them to the base, saying that it was to thank Sean for his help to her. Sean was very angry, but in the face of absolute strength, his anger was useless. He began to practice martial arts desperately, joined the supplies search team, and went out day and night to search for supplies, doing the most dangerous tasks and enduring the most hardships. Before leaving, Diana specifically came to me and smiled, saying, "How about it? Without combat power, I can still live a good life, right? Women conquer the world by conquering men. Beauty is the greatest weapon. You go out early and come back late every day to kill zombies and collect supplies. Aren't you tired? As for me, as long as I lie there and crook my finger, I'll have an endless stream of contribution points." I ignored her. Killing zombies could not only earn points, but also exchange for contribution points. It was a two birds with one stone thing, and only a fool wouldn't do it. Moreover, Leo had a huge scar on his face, and he was dark, strong, and burly. I didn't envy Diana's life at all. In the evening, I was happily counting the system points and the base contribution points when a warning suddenly appeared on the system. This system needs 100,000 points for an upgrade. If 100,000 000 points cannot be accumulated within 3 days. The system will automatically detach from the host, and all the rewards previously given to the host by the system will also disappear. 100,000, 100,000. I jumped up from the bed. The system couldn't play like this. I had finally managed to save up 50,000 points and planned to exchange for a really powerful weapon. System, if you disappear, will the martial arts I learned before also disappear? No. What you've learned is your own. This system will only take back other rewarded items. 25. I let out a sigh of relief and got up that night and ran out of the base to earn points. It seemed that I needed to adjust my strategy in the future. I couldn't just use points to exchange for weapons, combat power, and intelligence. Instead, I should learn more other skills. The system's ebook store had everything. There were not only various martial arts secrets, but also theoretical knowledge of all walks of life. After staying up for 2 nights like this, I finally managed to save up 100,000 points and successfully upgraded the system. When I leisurely returned to the base, I found that Diana had already been waiting for me in my room. "Where have you been, Cecilia? Where on earth have you been these days?" Diana shouted hoarsely, and there was an uncontrollable look of fear on her face. I was a bit surprised, and then I suddenly realized, with her appearance, could it be that her system also needed to be upgraded? "Cecilia, please help me. I can't lose the system. I need 100,000 points. Let's go out and kill zombies." "Okay, I heard that there is a zombie king in the center of the city. It's a super evolved zombie. If we go and kill it, we will definitely earn a lot of points. Can I say that I just came back from killing it, Diana? It's too late? Today is already the last day. Unless you get an atomic bomb, you won't be able to get these 100,000 points. Atomic bomb, right. I'll go find Leo. He must have a way." Leo was the second leader that Diana was following. I looked at Diana speechlessly and felt that she seemed a bit crazy. Even if there really was an atomic bomb, Leo wouldn't dare to use it. However, as soon as 12 o'clock tonight arrived, if Diana still hadn't obtained the points, she would be restored to her original state. I quickly ran to Xavier and used the contribution points to exchange for the position of the 10th leader. "You killed the zombie king." Xavier looked at me in surprise. After a while, his chest vibrated, and a pleasant low laugh came from his throat. "Cecilia, I'm looking forward to the day when you become the first leader." I couldn't help but look at him a few more times. The person who always had a cold face actually looked quite good when he smiled. 26. Leo was moody, impulsive, and irritable. He lived alone in a villa, and I quietly waited downstairs for him. Sure enough, as soon as 12 o'clock arrived, a furious shout came from the room. "Damn it, what the hell are you? Where did you put Diana?" In a hurry, I directly jumped in through the window on the second floor. "Stop, Leader Leo." Diana had already returned to her original appearance. At this moment, she was being held up in the air by the neck by Leo. With her mouth open, her eyes rolled back, and her hands flailing in the air. Leo was stunned when he saw me, and then his face turned stern. "What do you mean by breaking into my room in the middle of the night?" "Leader Cecilia, the news that I killed the zombie king this afternoon spread throughout the base like the wind." Leo looked at me with a deep sense of fear in his eyes, and he spoke much more politely. I looked up at Diana, who was almost choked to death, and scratched my head, really not knowing how to explain it to Leo. Leader Leo, she is indeed Diana. Her ability is to become beautiful, and today, her ability suddenly failed." "That's it. What did you say? Diana looks like this." Leo had a habit of marking his things. When Diana started following him, he personally tattooed a faint L character on Diana's collarbone. At that time, this character was specifically traced by a calligrapher in the base. When he saw the L character on Diana's slightly dark skin, which was obviously stretched to a larger size, Leo was silent for a while. And then he leaned over and vomited. I cupped my hands sincerely. "Leader Leo, Diana's parents have been kind to me. Can I take her away? I owe you a favor for this matter." Leo glanced at Diana sideways and then covered his face. My eyes. "Hurry up and get this ugly thing out of here." "Thank you, Leader Leo." 27. After becoming the leader, I lived alone in a villa. Diana ran into the bathroom in the guest room, and soon a hoarse scream erupted from inside. "This isn't me. This definitely isn't me. I'm not like this. I'm very beautiful. I'm the #1 goddess in the base. I don't want to be like this." Diana was acting like a madwoman. She rushed over and grabbed my sleeve, crying so much that saliva and snot flowed out. "Cecilia, please help me. Ask your system to summon another system for me." Seeing that I ignored her, she resentfully reached out to hit me. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You refused to take me to kill zombies. If you had taken me to earn points, I wouldn't have become like this." Her fist landed on me, as light as a feather. Diana was really too weak. Any random woman in the base was much stronger than her. I pushed her away impatiently and accidentally pushed her to the ground because I didn't control my strength well. "Boss, are you okay?" Hearing the commotion in the guest room, Sean, Jason, and a few others all ran over. The villa was very big. The three-story villa I lived in had a total of 13 rooms. After I became the leader, I asked Sean and the others to move in. Gosh, you scared me. Who is this person? Why is she in our room? Seeing Sean, Diana crawled up from the ground with her hands and feet and sobbed as she threw herself into Sean's arms. Woo-woo, Sean, you're the only one who's good to me. Can you accompany me to fight zombies? Sean pushed Diana away in disgust. When Diana tried to turn around and hug Jason, Jason had already jumped 2 meters away when she turned sideways. I explained to the two of them for a long time before they accepted the fact that this was Diana. Sean's face turned pale. After a while, he suddenly slapped his head. Damn it, I know you. You're a freshman in e-commerce, right? My junior is in the same club as you. I saw you when I went to find him, Diana. I said the name Diana sounded so familiar to me when I first heard it. Sean and Jason left in a daze. Their expressions were indescribable, especially Sean, with his mouth open and his eyes wide, looking as if he had been severely shocked. I looked at Diana, who was lying on the ground crying bitterly, and squatted down to hand her a handkerchief. You can live in this room from now on. I'll ask someone to bring you 3 steamed buns every day. You need to rely on yourself for the rest. 28. Diana lived in my villa and didn't do any work every day. She just harassed Sean and Jason. When the two of them couldn't stand Diana's harassment, they would throw her some pastries, biscuits, and other snacks. I was busy earning points, going out early and coming back late. One day when I got home, Sean and Jason caught me. Boss, I'm begging you, can you get Diana out of here? Jason also looked completely defeated. Boss, you don't know how disgusting Diana is. She's always posing and winking, and she shows her thick thighs and bucket waist from time to time. I really can't stand it anymore. System, is it exchanged yet? Hurry up. The two of them fell silent. After a long while, they went back to their rooms feeling hopeless. Diana's mental state seemed a bit off. She always thought that she was still that peerlessly beautiful woman, and her every gesture was the same as before. She spoke in an affected voice, swayed her waist when she walked, and even held her chopsticks in a delicate manner when she ate. Looking at her like this, scenes from our childhood often flashed through my mind. Sean, from now on, Diana's food rations will be the same as yours. The contribution points will be deducted from my share. Well, just for the sake of Diana's parents. Diana clearly seemed to have gone crazy, and I had to make sure she had something to eat. Through my desperate efforts, 3 months later, I finally managed to save up 1 million contribution points. On the day I exchanged for the position of the first leader, Xavier smiled happily. Welcome, Your Majesty the Queen. I rolled my eyes and quickly promulgated several rules for the base. Most of Xavier's previous rules were quite good. On his basis, I added some basic welfare benefits. Those who were old, weak, sick, or disabled could apply to be subsistence allowance recipients, and they could receive 3 steamed buns and a bottle of water every day to ensure they wouldn't starve to death. Moreover, I specifically stipulated in the base that no man could force a woman, unless she was willing. I knew that some things couldn't be avoided, and there was no absolute purity in this world, but with me around, at least I could bring them a glimmer of hope. Everything in the base got on the right track. People started harvesting crops and raising animals, and all aspects of life were gradually getting closer to what it was like before the apocalypse. I strolled along the orderly streets, feeling that the future was full of hope. However, there was a somewhat noisy voice beside me. Ugh, what are you looking at? My beauty is beyond the reach of you ordinary people. You stinky man, don't peek at me. All the gifts bestowed by fate have already been secretly priced. Diana's situation today is really lamentable. I let out a sigh in a low voice. Diana, why are you running around again? Story 2. Due to falling asleep, I missed the nucleic acid test and the property management's headcount because I slept too much during the day. I woke up at midnight and discovered the truth before anyone else. The world had changed overnight. 1. My name is Madeline, and right now, I'm infuriated and powerless. I had planned to surprise my parents by coming home, but it ended up being just a shock with no joy. So, because my cousin from my uncle's family had a baby, you all went to celebrate, and I was the last to know. The bustling noise over the phone suggested a large gathering, which made sense since adding a new family member is a big deal. But why didn't anyone tell me? I stood at my front door, laden with bags, silently facing the security door. You're out of town, so we didn't tell you. Okay, the key is under the mat. Let yourself in. Your dad and I will be back the day after tomorrow. Gotta go. Your uncle's here. And with that, the call ended before I could say another word. She hung up on me. Since I had already taken the leave and was here, there was no turning back. Looking at the bags in the living room, I couldn't even muster a wry smile. The surprise I planned was ruined, but life goes on, right? But what about the stuff I ordered online? How do I handle that? Just then, the doorbell rang. It was my delivery. After sorting out the parcel, My phone alerted me that my grocery order had arrived at the community center, urging me to pick it up quickly. What a mess. After collecting the groceries and picking up 2 more parcels, I realized I wasn't familiar with the area since it was a new neighborhood for me. In my quest to retrieve my deliveries, I ended up taking many unnecessary detours, and by the time I got home, I was exhausted. My new home was still in an old neighborhood, but thankfully, it had an elevator. As one gets older, an elevator becomes a necessity, which was also a reason for choosing this place. Of course, it being cheaper played a part too. Early bird gets the worm. Collapsing on the sofa once again, I was genuinely out of energy. After driving all morning and then running errands without even a sip of hot water, I felt utterly drained. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. There was nothing to eat at home. Or more precisely, nothing cooked and ready to eat, right? They all went to the feast, so why bother cooking? At that moment, not only did my heart ache, but my eyes did too. To vent my frustration, I went out and indulged in a big meal, followed by buying loads of snacks that I usually avoid during my diet or am not allowed to eat at home. Rebellion, perhaps. Buying stuff seems to be the best cure for unhappiness. Returning home, my mood had improved somewhat, but seeing no new messages on WeChat saddened me again. They didn't inform me initially. But now that I knew, couldn't they at least send a video or a photo? This thought reignited my anger. Whatever, I'm going to sleep. I drew all the curtains, locked the doors, put on noise-canceling earplugs and a steam eye mask, and set my phone to silent. From now on, even if it's the apocalypse, nothing will disturb my sleep. Consequently, I ended up missing the community's quarantine notice, the property management's door-to-door inspection, and the residents' nucleic acid testing and resource distribution, too. I was awoken by the urge to pee. Even though I'm a delicate fairy, nature's calls still need to be answered. After taking care of my needs, I checked my phone. It was 3 a.m. I somehow managed to sleep for 12 hours straight. No wonder I feel so refreshed now. Back in the day, as someone who used to stay up late, I would have called up my friends for a night out, but now, being back in my hometown, a small county with not many entertainment options in a neighborhood mostly filled with the elderly, everything goes dark early. I opened a can of Coke, cracked the curtains slightly, and decided to have a moment of artistic contemplation, leaning on the balcony, watching the drizzling rain. Before I could get too poetic, I noticed the entrance of our complex was blocked, since the complex is quite large. I couldn't see the other exits, but if the main gate was blocked, the others probably were too. What happened? Why the sudden lockdown? A resurgence of the pandemic? Confused, I unmuted my phone and checked it. When I saw the community notice, I was speechless. Turns out, not only had I slept through the quarantine announcement, I also missed the distribution of supplies. I'm no stranger to quarantine, having spent much of college in lockdown during the peak of the pandemic. Even now, it's not unusual to hear about places being sealed off every now and then. Although it's not panic-inducing, it is quite frustrating. I was finally on a break, and now I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck at home alone, and there's no one to complain to. Plus, I might not be able to work until the quarantine is over, so this month's salary is uncertain, which only adds to my gloom. The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't sleep. I dragged over a lounge chair, lay down, and stared at the streetlights outside in the dark night, feeling miserable. Just then, I noticed a few people walking on the street in the middle of the night, which was odd since there were no cars around. Watching the people stagger along, I wondered if they were drunk. As I was pondering this, several police cars arrived, and fully equipped officers got out. Just when I thought these people were about to be arrested, something unexpected happened. Holy crap, they're attacking the police. How drunk must they be? The people, who had been shuffling slowly, suddenly lunged at the police with an agility that seemed cinematic. Even though the police were numerous and well-equipped, some were still taken down in the ensuing melee. The attackers seemed skilled and fearless, quickly recovering and rejoining the fray even after being thrown off. As typical for us curious folks, my first instinct was to capture the scene, but I was cautious, suspecting that this might be some covert operation, so I recorded from behind the curtains to avoid any unnecessary trouble. If these guys ever try to claim otherwise, I'll have the video to prove they attacked first, I muttered to myself while fervently recording. Thanks to the high resolution of my phone, I could see everything more clearly than through the window alone, but then, something seemed off. These stunt performers looked unusual, their faces pale green, veins bulging, and their movements oddly stiff and twisted. It felt eerily familiar. Just as I was trying to place it, one of them knocked off a policeman's helmet and bit into his neck, blood spurting out. My phone dropped onto the lounge chair from shock. Then it hit me. This scene was straight out of a movie I had seen. In the disaster movie Apocalypse of the Undead, I saw scenes that I never thought I would witness in reality. Is this really the apocalypse? Were those not just drunk people but actual zombies? Despite my fear, I continued to spy. I saw several stunt performers being picked up and thrown into a black vehicle, not entering it in one piece. After the convoy left, a water truck came and cleaned up the ground, making it look as though nothing had happened. Cars came and went, all was eerily quiet, without a trace of what had just occurred, but I knew it wasn't a dream, because all the evidence still lay in my phone. My face must be pale now, my hands shaking uncontrollably, and my legs too weak to stand. I've tried several times to get up, but I just can't. Why does it feel like the end of the world? My mind is flooded with thoughts and questions, feeling almost like it's going to split open. I know I should be calling my friends and family to prepare them, but it's 3 a.m., who would believe me? Plus, given the secrecy of what I just witnessed, the government is usually competent. Maybe those weren't zombies, but something like a severe form of rabies, or escapees from a mental institution. Although my mind keeps trying to rationalize what I saw, my trembling hands can't help but search online for any news related to a zombie apocalypse. However, clearly, all I find are novels, movies, or jokes from people online, nothing that could be taken as a useful clue. Obviously, everyone is still living in happy times, with no hint of an impending apocalypse. The occasional complaints are just about lockdowns or outbreaks, which seem to have become the norm. Just when I thought I couldn't find any useful information, I stumbled upon a video that caught my attention. A virus frozen for 45,000 years has been revived by scientists, the oldest ancient virus known so far. I usually enjoy these snippets and even joke about them, but today, this one truly alarmed me. At the end of the post, the author wrote a few chilling words: due to a lab error, the virus has leaked and may cause some spread. Stay safe. This didn't seem like an informative post, nor did it feel like a joke. It felt more like a last note. Indeed, when I tried to watch the video again, it was gone, and I couldn't find it anywhere online anymore. My heart sank even more. Although I verbally expressed disbelief and searched for evidence to refute the claim, a terrifying thought lingered in my mind: it might be true. Images from countless movies and novels about apocalyptic zombie chases flashed through my mind, gory and brutal. Although the protagonists usually triumph in the end, I knew I wouldn't be one of them. With no survival skills and poor physical condition, if I really went out, I'd likely be among the first to be devoured. Moreover, our neighborhood is locked down. I couldn't leave even if I wanted to. Wait, right. We're in lockdown. Our country is different, even if it really was the apocalypse. The government wouldn't just stand by. Think about the SARS outbreak. Think about COVID-19. But what if it really is an apocalypse with zombies roaming around? With that thought, I finally decided I couldn't just sit and wait for death. Even though I trust the government, I still need to prepare. Firstly, whether it's the real apocalypse or not, I need to inform my parents, even if it turns out to be nothing. Indeed, the lockdown is real, and it's probably due to another virus outbreak. Staying put and taking care of oneself is definitely the right move. So, before 4 a.m., I found myself calling my mom. Calling in the middle of the night might be considered inappropriate, but under these circumstances, niceties couldn't be afforded. No one answered the first time I called, so I tried again, and the phone was picked up after a few rings. What's going on? Why are you calling so late at night? Did something happen? I could hear the anxiety in my mom's voice. I had been holding back, but now my tears started flowing freely. Mom, listen to me. Everything I'm about to tell you is true. You must remember it. Remember it well. I started choking up as soon as I spoke, unable to hold back any longer. Go ahead. If you're calling at this hour, it must be something serious. Don't be scared. Tell Mom slowly. I could hear hurried movements on the other end, as if they were about to leave the house. Mom, don't go out. Please don't go out. Our neighborhood has been locked down. Where are you now? Are you at my uncle's place? We're at your grandma's. The neighborhood is locked down. Is there an outbreak? Don't worry. I just ground some flour and we have vegetables in the fridge. It's just quarantine. It will pass in a few days. I thought it was something more serious. You scared me to death. Your dad was getting dressed to rush back. My mom seemed relieved to hear it was just a quarantine, clearly shaken by my midnight call and tears. It's not just a quarantine, Mom. I saw zombies, like the ones in the movies that eat people. This isn't normal quarantine. Believe me, you and Dad need to fortify the front door and stay inside. I've locked my door too, but, oh Mom, do you think this is the end of us? I was breaking down, trying to suppress my voice as I cried out of fear. Don't cry. Have you been watching too many movies? How could there be such things? Maybe your dad and I should still come back. Don't come back. Don't go outside. Believe me, I've taken a video. I'll send it to you. Look at it quickly. I hurriedly sent the video. Just a few minutes after it was sent, my account was blocked. Seeing this, my parents had to believe I saw it. Don't panic. First, lock the main door. The previous owner left a security door that we didn't remove. It has bolts at the top and bottom that can't be opened from the outside. Go bolt it now. it's safe. That was my dad's voice. And about food, Madeline, you need to start taking care of yourself. We have enough supplies at home for you to last 2 months. Your dad and I can't make it back. Just stay safe. Don't be scared. Our country is reliable. Nothing major will happen. That was my mom's advice. I'm not worried about food, really. I'm just worried about them. I'm okay. But what about you two? Don't go out, and don't let anyone in. Do you have enough to eat? I'm on the 9th floor, so as long as I guard the door well, it's hard for people to get in, but they're in a rural single-story house. It's more dangerous for them if something happens. Don't worry about us here. Your grandma just harvested some cabbage, and we've got plenty of food. You don't know since you weren't here. But your grandma's house just got a new stainless steel roof cover. Nothing can get through it, not wind or rain. Just take care of yourself, and we'll come back after the lockdown is lifted. Don't go out until we return. On the phone, my parents kept emphasizing precautions, from what to eat and where to how to stay safe. They were thorough because no one could predict what might happen next. Preparing now seemed too late. We could only make the most of what we had. After hanging up, I wiped my face and prepared to bolt the door. Safety comes first. But as I headed to the door, it struck me, weapons. We didn't have anything for self-defense at home, except for a kitchen knife, for I'm wrapped up like a dumpling. Yes, I went out. I felt uneasy not having anything for self-defense at home. After much thought, I decided to take a risk. At 4 a.m., even the early risers weren't out yet. It should be safe. I worried about possibly encountering zombies or some strange neighbor. So I pocketed our bone-chopping knife and sneaked into the elevator. Our building is old and doesn't have cameras in the elevator. The elderly couple across from me doesn't have cameras or smart locks either, so I hoped my exit went unnoticed. Trembling, I reached the ground floor. I remembered there was a fire axe in the fire cabinet, which was usually unlocked but sealed. Carefully, I tore the seal, and there it was, along with 2 fire extinguishers. I took the fire axe and extinguishers back up in the elevator and resealed the cabinet. Unsure about cameras on the ground floor, I figured in my disguise, even if someone checked later, they wouldn't easily identify who took them from 11 floors. I'd deal with that if it came up. Once home, I locked every door. Unless something unforeseen happens, I shouldn't need to go out again. If those things still get in, then I'll leave it to fate, I resignedly thought. After securing everything, I continued checking online updates and occasionally reported back to my parents to reassure them. Before I knew it, daylight broke, and sunlight speckled through the curtains. They weren't very thick, so while the room stayed dim, it didn't hinder any activity. I decided to leave the curtains and lights as they were to avoid drawing attention. While it was still clear, I took stock of my supplies. I hadn't realized how much I had. Just for myself, I could last 2, even 3 months, in the fridge. I had frozen hot pot ingredients like meat rolls and meatballs in 2 drawers. The bottom drawer was stuffed with my mom's frozen ribs, chicken legs, salted fish, and meat slices, along with 2 blocks of frozen tofu. The fresh layer held vegetables I ordered online, plus the cabbage, tomatoes, cucumbers, and potatoes my mom bought, and there were also 2 bottles of sauce. The cupboard with grains was full too, not just with rice and flour, but also with various dried goods like noodles, bean curd skins, black fungus, and dates, all ready to be rehydrated and cooked. Besides these, I had 2 big bags of snacks I bought on a whim. Just these alone could last me a week. While cleaning under my dad's bed, I found a box of alcohol. Surprisingly, despite being strictly monitored by my mom, he dared to stash it there. Well, now I've uncovered his secret stash. After organizing my current supplies, I felt more confident about the future. By the time I finished, it was nearly noon. I could smell someone cooking nearby. The aroma wafted through the door cracks and it smelled delightful. After a busy morning, I was hungry. I tiptoed into the kitchen. Since the windows were covered with privacy film, it was hard to see inside, so I decided to cook during the day from now on. In the evenings, I wouldn't even turn on the lights, let alone cook with fire. Countless books and movies have taught me that in a post-apocalyptic world, human nature can be more terrifying than zombies. This was my way of taking preventive measures. After lunch, I cleaned up. In these special times of the pandemic, it's important to conserve, so the only waste was my noodle packet and some rotten lettuce leaves. I even ended up eating the tough stems I usually dislike. After all this, I called my grandparents to update each other on our situations and received a morale boost from my parents. After the call, I started watching online videos and downloading post-apocalyptic films on my computer. Art imitates life, and there's no harm in learning more. The more I searched, the more I found words like apocalyptic virus and zombies seemed to be blocked online. I couldn't find anything. Some might suggest using a VPN to access foreign websites. But as someone who even needs a subscription to watch TV shows, I wouldn't know how to bypass internet restrictions, so after 2 hours, other than I strained, I gained nothing. The first day of quarantine passed like this. After dinner, I saw that the latest news from the central authorities dominated the headlines on my phone. Recently, outbreaks have rebounded in several areas due to a new mutant virus with high infectivity and rapid onset. If anyone develops a fever and their face turns green, they must call the control hotline immediately. The news shocked the nation. A new virus, and turning green. Shouldn't a high fever make your face turn red? Online, many who didn't know the truth made jokes, but I felt a chill knowing the truth. The high-risk areas announced included our county, although on the fringe, we were still included. I guess our city is now completely surrounded. The only thing I'm thankful for is that my parents aren't home, and although my grandparents' house isn't too far from mine, it's fortunately in the neighboring city. Zombies and an apocalypse. How did I end up in this absurd life? 5. Due to the national scope of the quarantine and control, having experienced COVID-19 years earlier, this massive quarantine didn't cause too much alarm. Just complaints about wasted wages and pressing mortgage debts. Then the government announced a series of subsidies, which quieted the complaints, turning them into opportunities for rest and state-funded recuperation. People always find a way to enjoy themselves, unaware. Some were still having fun, even throwing parties, like my upstairs neighbors, who kept making noise all night. Under normal circumstances, I would have confronted them by now, but I had to endure it for the time being. I carefully watched the main entrance from behind my curtains, not out of voyeurism, but for my own peace of mind, observing. I saw a group of people emerge from a black patrol car and head towards our building. What was going on? I pulled the curtains tighter, fearing any gap might reveal me. My phone's camera peeked out just a bit. It looked like they were headed to our building. Could it be that someone here was infected? Due to the angle, I soon lost sight of them. Shortly afterward, I heard louder noises from upstairs. Could I have been mistaken? Were they here to address the noise disturbance soon? The noise from upstairs stopped. I noticed that a group of people had left the area, but it seemed like 2 were missing. Perhaps they had other tasks to attend to, or were they still negotiating upstairs? After watching the empty neighborhood for a while, the only activity was the occasional changing of guards at the gate. The rest was just endless silence. It seems that the community had been advised to keep noise levels down. The quietness now was almost eerie. Before going to bed, I called my parents to check in and ensure each other's safety. Then I lay down in bed. It was getting cold this November, and I wondered if the payment for the underfloor heating had been processed this year, or if we would have it at all. Perhaps it was the cold, or maybe I was overthinking things. But when I woke up, it was still dark. I checked my phone. It was 2 a.m., and I was suffering from insomnia again. I put on my silent slippers and went to check the front door. The door was secure, and the surveillance footage showed no suspicious activity. In fact, there hadn't been anyone at all. After ensuring everything was in order, I returned to the lounge chair I had been lying on the previous day and quietly watched the street lights outside. I didn't want to look at my phone or watch TV. I couldn't sleep and just wanted to zone out. I don't know how long I was lost in thought, but when I snapped back to reality, I heard something fall upstairs, making a couple of thudding sounds. And then quiet returned. A while later, a group of people appeared downstairs, likely the patrol team, but this time they seemed to be carrying something as they left. I didn't have my phone with me to see clearly. By the time I fetched my phone, they were already gone. I then noticed how exceptionally dark it was tonight. The street lights were out, with no lights visible in the distance either. There was no moon, only a few stars, and nearby, only the patrol car flashed its red and blue lights. It was pitch black everywhere, and I finally understood why ancient descriptions of darkness were so vivid. I waved my hand in front of my face and couldn't see it at all. I don't remember when I fell asleep, but the next morning, I woke up still on the chair, now with a congested nose. Getting sick was a serious matter, so I quickly found the medicine box and took a handful of cold medicine, hoping to nip the illness in the bud. After taking the medicine, I ate something and, considering the need to stay warm, I went to my mother's room and found a couple of electric blankets on top of a cabinet. A pleasant surprise indeed. I laid out the electric blankets, ensuring I wouldn't freeze even if I dared not turn on the air conditioning. A while after the medicine kicked in, I felt dizzy, probably from the large dose, and just wanted to sleep. After managing to make a phone call, I went back to bed and turned on the electric blanket. I'm not sure how long I slept, but when I woke up, my head was throbbing. I nearly fell out of bed. After using the restroom and washing my face to wake up, I returned to my room to check the time, only to find my phone was dead. After charging it and turning it on, I realized it was already 9 p.m., and I had set a new personal record for sleep. I tried to call my parents, worried they would be anxious after not hearing from me all day, but couldn't get through. Was my phone broken? I tried sending a WeChat message from my secondary account, only to see a red exclamation mark appear. It wasn't my phone that was the problem, but rather there was no signal. Today is the 5th day of my quarantine and the 3rd day without any signal, completely cut off from the outside world. Today, the community delivered supplies to each household. From my window, I saw several large trucks entering the neighborhood. Through the surveillance playback, I could see the supplies clearly: a big bag of flour, a large bag of rice, some seasonings, and a few non-perishable vegetables. I noticed a staff member lingering by my door for a while, probably trying to confirm that nobody was home, before finally leaving. After all, if there was someone, why wouldn't they come to collect the supplies, especially since they were free? I saw the supply truck leave in the evening, and the main gate was sealed again, perhaps because the supplies were distributed today. Everyone had enough, and by evening, enticing aromas were drifting through the cracks in the door. I also cooked a meal today, a simple dough ball soup, though it didn't turn out very tasty. I didn't fry the ingredients in oil because a couple of days ago I nearly choked myself when I dared to use the range hood for frying. Since then, I've stuck to boiling everything. It's easier and doesn't produce a strong smell, which is safer. I ate a bowl of the dough ball soup with some pickled vegetables. Looking at the pot, I figured there should be enough for tomorrow as well. With no internet, I'm completely out of touch with the outside world and have no idea what the current situation is. However, the lack of internet has given me more time to think. Reflecting on the recent events, I now suspect that the noise upstairs wasn't a party. Considering the things being moved in the middle of the night, I suspect that the family upstairs might be infected. The citywide blackout is probably to prevent panic. Our country must be quietly checking on things. After all, a pandemic and a zombie virus are not the same, although in the shows everyone yells about smashing the zombies' heads. In reality, it would only cause panic and lead to total chaos. Thinking about this, I suddenly feel quite indifferent. Maybe I could indeed survive if it really came down to it. With this thought, I unexpectedly chuckled. If it really comes to an irreversible situation, it's probably better to be dead. Living like this is too painful. Today is the 15th day of my quarantine, and it started to rain. They say each autumn rain brings a chill, but this seems more like winter rain. The temperature inside dropped to 12 degrees today, and I've put on thick clothes. Since the weather turned gloomy a few days ago, I filled up on drinking water. Countless novels and films tell us that rain in the apocalypse can contaminate clean water sources. Although I'm not sure if it's true, I made preparations just in case. Logically, since the apocalypse began, we shouldn't drink tap water casually, but I don't have bottled water, so I might as well drink it and just boil it a few extra times. On the 16th day of quarantine, the water stopped. Oh no. Could the water source really be contaminated or poisoned? My thoughts wildly raced towards unspeakable possibilities, probably due to a lack of human interaction. Lately, my imagination has gone wild, and I can craft a tear-jerking story from two differently colored towels. In common terms, I'm going stir-crazy. On the 18th day of quarantine, the water came back. I decided to wait before using it. I still have some stored water left. I'll use it up first and see if the filtered water is clean and safe. On the 28th day of quarantine, someone came to my door. Although I've been eating vegetables sparingly, the leafy greens were completely gone a few days ago. Now, the only vegetables left at home are durable potatoes and frozen tomatoes. I assume others are probably in the same situation. Today, I just took out a cooked potato from the fridge, planning to dip it in soy sauce since it was already evening. And a simple meal would do. Just as I took a few bites, I suddenly heard an unusual noise outside. It sounded like something scraping on metal. In the extreme silence, any small disturbance gets magnified. I cautiously walked over and turned on the display screen on the wall. Sure enough, there was someone outside, and they were trying to tamper with my home's security door. I saw an older individual keeping watch while a younger one was fiddling with the lock, apparently trying to pick it. My home was being targeted. Seeing this scene, my heart involuntarily skipped a beat. I couldn't help but shiver uncontrollably. Even just during quarantine, they dared to pry open someone's door. I can only imagine what these people might do if the apocalypse really broke out. One of them I recognized. He was the elderly man who lived across from my house, in his 60s, perhaps unable to pry the door open. The young man, growing impatient, asked, "Jasper, are you sure no one's home? Positive?" I've been watching for a long time. Their lights haven't been on, and no one has come out even when supplies were delivered. There's definitely nobody there. I was relieved Jasper was so sure, thankful for my own caution. It would indeed be dangerous if he knew I was home alone. Let's not bother with the wire anymore. Just take the bolt cutters and remove it quickly. I saw the younger man throw down the wire and, after speaking, he turned to go downstairs, presumably to fetch some tools. Jasper, from across the hall, went home and returned with a screwdriver in his hand. I cursed them silently for their ruthlessness. They certainly weren't short of tools. It seemed they were determined to break in. I wasn't sure if what I had prepared would be enough to scare them off. Soon, the man with the bolt cutters returned, and the tool was indeed very large and heavy. If it came down to a confrontation, my fire axe might not stand a chance. They gestured outside the door, deciding where to start, as my hand rested just below the screen. Just as they positioned the cutters, a piercing alarm sounded through the hallway. Alert, alert, unauthorized intrusion detected. The shrill alarm grew louder with each repeat, echoing far down the quiet corridor. Shit, startled by the sudden alarm, the man with the cutters trembled, dropping the tool which, by sheer bad luck, landed on his foot. Jasper, in a panic from the alarm, ran back to his apartment, slamming the door so loudly it drowned out his cries. Damn it, I'll smash your damn door. The man kicked at the door. Alert, alert, uploading intruder images, preparing to alert authorities. Hearing the warning about the images being uploaded, the once arrogant intruder ran off like the wind, not even bothering to take his tools. Seeing them all flee, my heart finally settled, and after a moment, I went to turn off the alarm. Luckily, their knowledge of electronics was lacking. If it had been someone younger, they might not have been so easily fooled. Ever since the network went down, not only automatic alarms, but even recording devices had stopped working. I was thankful for the good old door access system I'd bought, which had an offline viewing feature. Otherwise, I would have been in real trouble. I knew I had to be even more cautious from now on. Day 35 of quarantine. The last few days have been windy, and the indoor temperature had dropped to 9 degrees Celsius. Outside, it must be below zero by now. Since that break-in attempt, I had moved the sofa to the door. Since then, any rest I took was on the sofa because I found I couldn't sleep anywhere else. The sky had been overcast since morning, and the house was even darker. By noon, snow began to fall, not the fluffy kind, but more like grains of salt, as cold and hard as the wind outside. It was so cold today that I treated myself to a self-heating hot pot, spicy flavor. Because of its overpowering smell, I usually avoided eating it, but today was just too cold. I sat in the chair next to my bedroom, eating and watching the front door. Observing the occasional passerby had become my main form of entertainment during these oppressive days. Today, as I listlessly watched, I suddenly noticed someone going out. They went to the door and seemed to say something, and then started to scuffle with someone else. Had they gone mad, looking for a fight? I quietly watched their argument as I ate, like watching a silent film. After a while, the troublemaker left, and I continued eating. Just as I was debating whether to drink the spicy soup, someone else approached the door. I'm not sure if the people this time are the same as before, but it's clear they're up to no good. Shortly after, the group of over 20 troublemakers left, and then several more groups arrived one after another. Among these people, I recognized the man who had knocked on my door earlier. It seemed our building was now involved in the action. It might have been someone taking the lead, because over the next 2 days, more people continuously showed up at the guard's office, and some even got into fights with the security staff. 2 days later, today was bound to be an unusual day. I didn't wake up on my own. I was woken up by noises in the hallway. As the noise gradually faded, I looked out from behind the curtain. Unbeknownst to me, many people had already gathered outside, some armed with sticks, and others even wielding kitchen knives. What were they planning? Were they going to battle? I didn't dare reveal myself, but the limited view through a sliver of curtain was really frustrating. I could barely make out that they seemed to be gathering and discussing something. Then they moved en masse towards the main gate. I finally managed to position my phone to see what was happening, and to my alarm, they had started fighting with the security personnel outside. They were openly assaulting the officers. What happened next was beyond my expectations. They managed to drive the security staff away. Yes, they won. I didn't understand their mindset. They actually dismantled the iron sheeting of the gate and went out. Now the entrance was wide open. With over 100 people working, they made quick work of it. Just like that, I watched helplessly as our community transformed from a defensive stronghold to having a breach blown right through it, all in less than half an hour. My heart started racing again. It didn't make sense. As citizens who generally follow policies, this level of madness seemed out of character. As I puzzled over this, the people who had gone out returned, bringing back loads of goods. It looked like they had emptied a small supermarket. Judging by their quick return, it must have been the supermarket just outside our community, which was owned by someone from our community. Was this whole operation just to empty the supermarket? Probably not. Emptying the supermarket might have been just a side objective. Perhaps, I realized it was likely a demonstration, or an expression of dissatisfaction. Since the lockdown, we had only received supplies twice. The most recent being a month ago. Perhaps there was still enough grain, but regular vegetables couldn't last a month. So is this a result of vegetable shortage, or perhaps dissatisfaction with the treatment at home? Was the lack of internet driving them mad? It could be a mix of various reasons that evolved into this demonstration and conflict, but no matter how angry they were, they shouldn't have dismantled the fence. This was a matter of life and safety, I sighed at home. While they had no idea, 2 days passed, and they continued to go out intermittently, while the security personnel who had been driven away hadn't reappeared. As I observed from my window daily, another change occurred. Suddenly, there was chaos at the gate, followed by screams as an SUV charged into the community. Some tried to stop it, but were mercilessly run over. The SUV disappeared from my sight in an instant, and then some people rushed to help those who were down. Others tried to chase the car, some wandered aimlessly in shock, and many more headed towards the gate, unclear of their intentions. Just as I was about to end my observations for the day, the people below suddenly started to scatter in all directions. Looking closely, I was horrified. The person who had been hit was now being climbed on by another person. Upon closer inspection, this individual wasn't performing first aid, but was actually feeding on the victim. Seeing this, the people below instantly panicked, screaming in terror, but their screams only attracted more infected individuals. Before I knew it, over 20 grotesque-looking infected had gathered outside the wall. Their skin was greenish, and their limbs were stiff and twisted, possibly attracted by the screams or the scent of blood. They crazily stormed towards the community, some even climbing over the community fence, which was over 2 meters high and topped with spikes. I saw an infected person climb over the railing, their clothes torn by spikes, blood dripping as they bit into the neck of the nearest person. Run, there's a monster, ah. Before the shouting person in the crowd could finish his sentence, he was tackled by an infected, one of the first victims, given his already poor mobility. In an instant, the ground floor turned into a bloody battlefield. I clutched the curtains tightly, my body trembling, a strong sensation of suffocation slowly overcoming me. I suddenly realized I had been so tense that I forgot to breathe, nearly suffocating myself. I gasped for air, then suddenly dashed towards the door. Only one thought was in my mind: block the door. I must not let these creatures in. As I approached the door, I heard loud, intense noises in the hallway. It seemed someone had run into the building. Was it a survivor or another infected? Trembling, I activated the door's video intercom. I had to see for myself, whatever it was. I knew that the fear of the unknown could be more unsettling than facing the reality head-on. The first person who appeared on the screen was an unfamiliar man who looked to be about my age. He vanished in a blink of an eye, presumably safe due to his speed. The second person was unexpected. It was the man who had tried to pry the door open last time. I watched as he ran up, paused as if he had thought of something, then suddenly kicked at my door with great force. The iron security door made a jarring noise. Damn it, why isn't it ringing? He furiously kicked the door a few more times, then continued running upstairs, cursing as he went. Just then, the elevator arrived with a ding, and its doors opened to reveal an infected zombie in the midst of feeding on the lifeless body of the old man from across the hall. Perhaps attracted by the noise of the security door, the infected began to stagger toward me, then turned and climbed upstairs. I watched them approach me on the display, leaving behind a high-definition close-up image. If I were lucky enough to survive this, I knew I'd never forget the scene. Only after the infected disappeared from the screen did I slowly exhale. My heart still pounding loudly, as if reminding me that I was still alive. I slid down against the wall. It was terrifying, truly horrifying. The infected were terrifying, but the human heart was even more so. Only later did I realize the man's intention in kicking the door. He wanted my home's alarm to attract the infected, buying himself more time to escape. What he didn't know was that the alarm had to be manually activated from inside. It wasn't automatic, of course. They didn't know there was someone inside the door. He tried to save himself by kicking the door, but this only delayed him, wasting precious time he could have used to escape. Whether he managed to escape or not, I didn't know. I belatedly realized something. Why did he run upstairs? Doesn't he live downstairs? I muttered to myself, recalling that he had previously taken tools downstairs, unless his home was upstairs, which meant mine wasn't the first targeted. This person wasn't just a thief, but likely a habitual one. I was indeed in danger last time, lucky to have avoided it. At that moment, I found myself hoping the infected would catch up to him. If he didn't die, the danger could well be ours next. I knew I had changed, because the appearance of the infected was so sudden, and the community had just removed the isolation boards, leading to lax security. The eventual outcome was predictable. Peeking through the curtains, after a night's time, most of those who had been attacked had turned, except for a very few. Nearly all who had fallen were now standing. What did this imply? It meant the infection rate was extremely high. However, from my observations throughout the night, the mutation speed of these infected didn't seem that fast. Some mutated in just 2 hours, some of them lasted 5 or 6 hours, due to the distance I really couldn't see what was happening underground, so the old man at the door, who was keen on knocking, became my subject of observation. Yes, this old man had also mutated. Although he was severely injured, it was his arms that were most badly affected. Thus, this morning, he still managed to stand up stubbornly and began to slowly knock on his own door. Thud, thud, thud. Each knock wasn't very loud, but it was enough to be alarming, as if every thud was knocking directly on one's forehead, buzzing ominously. In this way, the old man knocked all morning, and I watched all morning. From the initial terror, to resignation, and now to a more reflective observation, they were clearly already dead. So what exactly was it that brought them back to their feet, and why did he keep knocking on his own door? Was it a subconscious desire to return home, or was there something else attracting him? Could it be the scent of living people? Then why didn't he come knocking on my door? Just as I was puzzling over these questions, the door opposite suddenly opened, and the old lady came out. Looking a bit off. Stop knocking. Are you blaming me for making you go to the protest below? Fine, I'll join you. Okay. Before the old lady could finish, the old man lunged forward and bit her neck, followed by a spray of red liquid, and silence fell in the corridor once again. This scene happened so suddenly that I had to cover my mouth tightly, fearing that I couldn't help but scream. After all, to watch someone die right before my eyes was truly terrifying. I stared fixedly at the display screen, terrified, but I dared not look away. I was afraid that the moment I did, he would rush into my house and viciously bite my throat. I quietly watched the scene, not knowing how long it had been, until the old lady stopped moving completely, and the mutated old man got up again. He seemed like a puppet with a goal, turning a few circles at the door before staggering into the house. Then I heard the tragic cries of their dog, followed by silence. I don't know how long I had been watching the door. I just remember watching from the moment the old lady came out, until the deceased her stood up again. Her current appearance was just like the infected ones who came out of the elevator. Her green skin was marked by black, raised veins. Her eyes were bulging, fish-like. Most eerie were the fish scale-like patterns that appeared on her hands and face, or perhaps they were just markings. But they made her look even more grotesque. She first crawled a few steps towards my house, then, under my fearful gaze, she retreated. I don't know why she went back. Perhaps there was no target for her here, or maybe there was something here she disliked. In any case, she went back, then slowly entered her home. Even in mutation, could she still recognize her own home? Did she still know to go home? I really couldn't fathom it. Today is the 50th day of quarantine. If nothing unexpected had happened, today's eve of the Lunar New Year would have been quite lively and warm. My home's vegetables are completely gone. Even the scallions my mother planted on the balcony have been plucked bare. Due to the lack of vegetables, I've started to have issues like inflamed gums and bleeding. With no choice left, I've resorted to brewing tea leaves for drinking and eating the leaves, hoping they would help somewhat. Since the last time infected individuals invaded our complex, many people have been infected. So now there are even more mutated beings wandering downstairs. Although I hate to admit it, these really are zombies. If asked how they differ from the zombies in movies, the answer is that they are more terrifying. After all, scenes that are too horrifying aren't allowed to be shown, but the reality is that hell exists on Earth. Due to the cold weather, these zombies haven't decomposed much, and from top to bottom, they still look relatively intact. A few days ago, when I was observing the zombies, I accidentally made eye contact with one that fell from the building above. Although it was just a momentary glance, the fear still haunts me in my nightmares. This has made my already existing insomnia even worse. I've started losing hair and often find myself crying uncontrollably. I know I'm sick. Day 55 of quarantine. Today was bound to be different because I saw living people on the monitor. I don't know about residents of other buildings, but these were the first living people I've seen since the zombie outbreak began in our complex. I watched them cautiously descend the stairs and then look down. I wanted to warn them about the zombie across the door but didn't know how to do it. As I was struggling with what to do, the zombie across the door emerged. Damn, there's still more, the leading man cursed. Then kicked the approaching zombie. That's when I noticed his leg was wrapped in sheet metal. What are you waiting for? Let's go, he shouted to the others. Just as they were about to rush in, another zombie pounced and bit the man's neck before anyone could react. Help me. The man struggled and cried for help, but his companions took the chance to run upstairs. As I heard a snapping sound, the man went silent. I watched all this quietly from behind my door. Silent because there was nothing I could do. Perhaps it was an ill start or something else, but I didn't see any more people in the following days. No, there's one more zombie in the corridor outside my door. Today is the Spring Festival, and the first day of the new year. I made myself something special to eat for the first time in ages. After all, it's New Year, plus, after observing for a while, I realized that zombies avoid my door because of the garbage piled there. Yes, with no one around. The area in front of my door has become a dump site for the flat across. Although the cold weather has prevented severe rotting, it still emits an unpleasant odor. To test my theory, I made some noise to attract their attention and then poured the juice from my snail rice noodle dish through the crack under the door. Sure enough, they stayed even further away, uninterested in the noise. It turns out they really hunt by smell at this moment. I sincerely thank those who threw their trash at my door, though they can no longer feel it. I cooked some ribs and enjoyed a self-heating hot pot, savoring every bite. Before, I was afraid of being discovered. Such strong-smelling food was off limits. Now that I know how to avoid zombies, I can finally eat it. With 3 zombies on this floor, it's unlikely that anyone would dare to come up here, making my place an inadvertently perfect safe haven, eating my warm meal. I truly appreciated the government for ensuring that the citizens' basic daily needs were met even in such times. Water, electricity, and gas were plentiful and uninterrupted, giving me the strength to keep going. Day 60 of quarantine. Today, I checked my remaining supplies. I still have half of my stock of rice and flour, since I eat little and have been consciously rationing. There's quite a bit left. Vegetables and fruits are long gone. The only vegetable I can eat now is the spring onion my mother grew, but the leaves are already plucked bare. I have 2 packs of instant noodles left, 3 self-heating pots, and half of the dried chicken we bought as a gift. There's still a good amount of frozen meat left, as I hadn't dared to eat it before. There are some other snacks left, and half a bottle of sauce. Luckily, I found a box of salted duck eggs. This turned out to be a pleasant surprise, looking at the supplies. I calculated that if I used them sparingly, I could last another 2 months, but after that, I'm not sure what I'll do. The biggest problem troubling me now isn't food, but hygiene products. Due to the specific needs of women, some items are essential. Previously, to avoid detection, I had been cutting up used products and flushing them down the toilet. Now, the toughest part is that I've run out of sanitary pads. I looked at the clothes in my wardrobe and finally decided to cut up my summer skirt, holding the makeshift cloth strips. I wondered if they would be effective, but at this point, I had no other choice. Day 70 of quarantine. I saw living people again today. This group was fully equipped. They fought zombies and eventually managed to kick them down the stairs. I watched as a few of them guarded the stairway entrance with weapons while others entered the apartment across from mine. They came out shortly after with scavenged supplies, which seemed quite fruitful. Then they turned their attention to my apartment. I saw them getting closer. Then they kicked away the trash at their feet and reached for my front door. It looks like no one's home here. Let's check for food. Hurry up. If Joshua hadn't been bitten earlier, he would have picked this lock in no time. I listened to their conversation, my hands trembling as I pressed the alarm button. Alarm alert. Intrusion detected. The familiar alarm sounded, accompanied by several curses. What the hell is going on? Do you want to die? Hurry up and stop it. I don't know how. Forget it. Run. The zombies are coming up. Then, they abandoned the idea of opening the door and quickly disappeared from the stairway entrance. I deliberately waited a few extra seconds before turning off the alarm. First, to make it look more realistic, and second, because I needed the zombies when I saw zombies coming up. I breathed a sigh of relief, but then my expression changed. The trash at my door had been kicked away. 10. I don't know if it's psychological or what, but I feel like the newly arrived zombies are somehow consciously looking at my apartment. Since the trash that masked the scent was kicked away, there's not much left at my doorstep now. Consequently, the scent masking is significantly weaker. For safety's sake, I found the last bag of pickled bamboo shoots I had soaked in water. I opened the bamboo shoots and soaked them in hot water, then slowly seeped the water through the door crack. Anyone who has eaten snail noodle soup knows the power of pickled bamboo, especially since I bought the extra stinky version, with the added scent of the bamboo shoot water. The zombies outside lost interest in my apartment again, but I knew this was temporary. Once the scent dissipated, I would still be in danger. The most urgent task now was to find a new scent barrier. Alcohol. No. Its strong smell could arouse suspicion, so it's not an option unless absolutely necessary. Perfume. Sorry, none available, not even floral water. After much thought, I decided to use the frozen fish in my fridge. They say stinky fish and rotten shrimp, and surely a rotten fish would have a strong smell. I immediately set to work, since I didn't know how to cook it. I just thawed the fish with some hot water and let it ferment in a warm place. I filled a few bottles with hot water to keep the fish warm, but that wouldn't spoil the fish. After letting the fish ferment, I checked the door again. Now 4 zombies had been lured up. As for the apartment across the hall, I had no idea. These zombies are both a security measure and a potential threat to me. Before I think of my next step, I must be extremely cautious. After ensuring it was safe, I retreated to the bedroom. But it didn't spread to the buildings. The zombies, drawn by the noise and chaos, moved towards the area of the explosions, giving us a temporary reprieve from their relentless assault. I stayed far from the door, minimizing any sense from escaping. Nowadays, I don't even dare to wear shoes when walking. I layer on multiple pairs of socks to reduce noise and drink less water to avoid frequent trips to the bathroom. After 3 days, the smell of the pickled bamboo shoots had dissipated, and the first knock finally came to my door. The sound wasn't loud, but it felt as if it struck directly on my head. Knock, knock. It was as if it was saying, "I found you." Suppressing my fear, I once again turned on the screen on the wall. A zombie was leisurely knocking on the door, likely unsure itself, so its knocks were not fierce, more like a natural instinct. I retrieved the fermented fish I had prepared earlier, opened the lid, and was met with a stench mixed with a fishy smell assaulting my senses. My stinky fish worked. I slowly leaked the silvery gray stinky juice through the crack under the door. I didn't know what it smelled like outside, but the inside of my house was certainly not pleasant. As the stinky juice seeped out, the awful smell masked my own scent, and the knocking stopped. Watching the zombie outside start to wander aimlessly again, I slowly exhaled, relieved. I continued to ferment my precious stinky fish with tap water. This was a life-saving substance. To avoid provoking the zombies, I now only check the fermenting juice regularly and refill it occasionally, spending most of my time far from the door. I don't know how long I've been living like this. I've stopped counting the days deliberately. I just mark a tally each day, grouping every 5 days into a set for convenience. During these hard days of survival, I've thought about ending it all, but I always back down when it comes time to act, always thinking, just wait a bit longer, maybe it will end soon. I still quietly observe the outside through the curtains every day. I saw someone in the building across get invaded by zombies. Their entire family turned. I also saw desperate people jump from the rooftops, only to become food for the zombies below, and there were those who tried to escape by car. One brave soul from an unknown building managed to break through the zombie blockade and drove out of the gate. I don't know if they ultimately made it, but their escape noticeably reduced the zombie threat in our area. As I watched, I saw a line of zombies following the noise of the car, closely on its heels. Watching this, I was reminded of the day the zombies entered our neighborhood, also following a wildly driving car, which then dominated our area. It seemed like history was repeating itself. I wondered what the outcome would be this time. I spent my days in monotonous repetition, both hoping for and fearing change. After countless more days, as I was staring out the window in a daze, a streak of bright red fell before my eyes. Someone from above was setting fires. I didn't know who came up with this method. What good would setting fires do, aside from the question of whether it could kill the zombies? Weren't they afraid of starting a wildfire in the middle of winter? But it seemed futile, as people upstairs continued to throw things outside. The sound of things breaking caught the attention of the zombies below, who began to gather slowly. Just then, a burning blanket flew past my eyes and landed on a zombie's head. Thrown with surprising accuracy, the ignited zombies started running wildly, and soon, it was out of control. The first to catch fire was the already dry greenery due to the winter, followed by cars parked next to the green spaces, and then came the violent explosions, engulfing the neighborhood in black smoke. The explosions attracted even more zombies, but all beings have an instinct to seek benefit and avoid harm, so apart from the first few unfortunate zombies who burned, the others just watched from the sidelines. The sound of continuous explosions carried far, drawing even the zombies from the hallways outside. The fire burned for a long time, and fortunately, there was no wind that day. Although the fire was fierce, it did not spread to the buildings. Fortunately, the fire did not spread to the buildings. However, the electrical distribution box was destroyed and the entire neighborhood lost power. I'm truly grateful for my habit of storing water, as the water purifier stopped working due to the power outage, and the water I had stored became crucial for survival. You might wonder if it's not possible to just drink tap water when the purifier is down. Sure, you can, but purified water is safer. And what if the water supply also stops later, or the gas? I had to prepare for the worst scenario. When the power went out, the refrigerator stopped working as well. Taking advantage of the time when the smell of smoke was strongest in the neighborhood, I cooked everything from the fridge. Since it's cold now, the food wouldn't spoil for a few days, due to the proximity to the fire. Soot and black smoke created a dark film on my windows, making it impossible to see the situation at the front door clearly. The power outage also disabled the electronic entry system, effectively leaving me blind. Eventually, I changed tactics and moved to another bedroom where I could see the back of the building. Although it wasn't much help, doing something was better than going insane. Since the power outage, I had been listening for any noise outside, with no electronic alarm and no patrols outside. I figured it wouldn't be long before the looters started their attempts, but they didn't come, not after one day, nor two. Instead, the water supply stopped, followed by the gas. No electricity, no gas, no water. This must really be the apocalypse. I curled up into a ball and piled all the blankets on the bed. I thought, if I'm lucky enough not to be eaten by zombies, and someone finds me after this apocalypse, they might say, "This person died peacefully, with nothing left." I turned on all the switches in the house and even opened a corner of the curtains. That's it then. I started to lose my appetite, spending my days either marking the wall or lying atop the thick coffin I had made for myself, waiting to die. I knew I was sick, heartsick, but I didn't want to care. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I replayed my life. From the vibrant days of elementary school to the struggles of entering society. From joyful times with my parents to the chaos of the apocalypse. As I thought, tears involuntarily streamed down, stunned by the harsh white light. I suddenly sat up. It was light. Was the power back on? I rushed out of my room. The fridge was humming, the sound of it starting its cooling function. Outside wasn't silent anymore. Instead, it was noisy. I rushed back to the bedroom, pulled open the curtains, and opened the smoke-stained window. Sunlight streamed in. Along with a cold breeze that carried a hint of gunpowder, several large trucks had driven into the neighborhood, all in green. An armed team subdued the last infected person and loaded them into a special vehicle. The neighborhood was safe. I watched as surviving residents came out of their homes. They hugged each other, some in sadness, others in excitement. Then someone started crying, and soon, there were cries all over. They cried out the fears endured during the apocalypse. The grief of lost loved ones, and the relief and excitement of being reborn. After a while, the crying subsided. More trucks entered the neighborhood, carrying supplies. Citizens of Huagua, the disaster will eventually pass. Please trust the government, trust the nation. A broadcast from the neighborhood loudspeaker instructed residents to collect supplies. Tables were set up next to the supply trucks. Survivor counts have begun. Tables were set up in the neighboring vehicles to start medical examinations for the sick. The chaotic inhabitants gradually calmed down and slowly formed long lines. I too changed my clothes and opened the long-closed grand door. The apocalypse was over. I was saved. Epilogue. 6 months have passed since the end of the apocalypse, or, as it is officially referred to now, 6 months since the end of the Pastrana virus. During these 6 months, I underwent therapy for psychological issues, and my symptoms of insomnia and nervous exhaustion have significantly improved. I imagine there are many others like me who, having skirted the edge of death, are left with some lingering shadows. Later, I counted the tally marks I had drawn on my wall during the lockdown: 94 days, or 3 months in total, but those 90-plus days have left me with shadows that I will never forget. I remember my parents rushing home as soon as the lockdown was lifted, then holding me and crying. It was only after seeing me alive and well that they could fully release their pent-up fears. With my parents' care, I gradually resumed a normal life. I've also kept an eye on the aftermath of this disaster. The official conclusion was that the melting of polar ice caps reawakened ancient pathogens. Though the main affected areas were coastal cities, I still remember a post I saw back then. Despite my doubts, I chose to trust the official explanation. Additionally, the group that broke into our community by car was sentenced to death, as anything less would not have sufficed to appease public outrage. Reports revealed their actions. They first inflated prices in their original community and then, realizing the severity of the situation, broke through the barricade, causing complete chaos and the deaths of many workers, leaving the community utterly defenseless. Subsequent statistics showed that out of 640 households and 632 people in our community, over 400 perished. This figure was undeniably horrifying and shocked everyone. Later, when national casualty figures were released, I glanced at them but could not bear to follow further, as the loss was too severe. Based on the populations of all heavily affected areas, 1/3 had died, a staggeringly large number. Looking at the domestic casualty figures and comparing them to other countries, we were actually faring well, thanks to timely detection and isolation measures. The virus did not spread widely within the country. The prompt lockdowns largely preserved most of the nation. As for the heavily affected areas, had it not been for constant disruptions by some, the consequences would not have been so severe. Abroad, the situation was predictable as their preference for freedom led to non-compliance with isolation measures. Later, scientists released complete data on the Pastrana virus. Its transmission was uniquely limited to blood and saliva. With no prolonged incubation period, symptoms appeared within no more than 24 hours. Those fully infected preyed on fresh victims, relying not only on sight but also on acute smell and hearing. Thus, my protective measures at the time were correct. I used foul smells to mask my own scent and stayed silent in the dark. This virus was peculiar, as if it had combined genetic traits from various animals. Due to these characteristics, the infected wreaked havoc among the uninfected. How many died from infected breaking into their homes? They died without knowing that their exposure might have been caused by an accidental sound or merely by the scent of being alive. I have never been so grateful for my frantic shopping that day. It allowed me to survive this disaster. Later on, the nation developed a new vaccine, reportedly derived from antibodies found in Wales. Years passed, we moved away from that city, and the Pastrala virus has not reappeared since. It seems everyone has forgotten the disaster, and life has returned to how it once was. Office workers continue to be busy every day. I've also started a family. In the daily hustle, it seems like everything just passes by. Our new home is in a newly developed building complex, which is not only tall but also has security gates between the floors. The door to our new home is still double-layered. Although it's somewhat inconvenient to go in and out, we are all quite satisfied with it. Besides the usual food, we also have a special place for storing various types of emergency supplies like compressed food and medicines. We call it our last line of defense. Later on, my daughter grew up. She asked me, "Why do we need to prepare so many things? They're hard, have a strange smell, and don't taste good at all." I looked at my bewildered child, smiled, and said nothing. "If possible, I hope you'll never need to use these. These are the nightmares that remain only in the memories of our generation."